Especially when it'll be open.
Okay, I'm calling to order this open session, our school board meeting calling to order at 6:31 p.m. We will start with roll call. Trustee Alvarado. Present. Trustee Vargas.
Here.
Trustee Marco.
Here.
Trustee Martin. Here. And I'm trustee Morocco, and I'm here. We are gonna start and lead the pledge of allegiance. I believe trustee Marco, would you mind leading us?
Ready to begin?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. I will now do the land. I will now do the land acknowledgement. We acknowledge the Paiute, the people of the West, as the traditional land caretakers of the land on which Vista Unified School District was built and its surrounding traditional cultural landscapes. Today, the Paiute are known as Lucenio and are made up of 7 bands: La Joya, Pala, Tauma, Pichanga, Rincon, Samuire, and Sobola. We, Vista Unified School District, are mindful of the indigenous peoples in this place, and we pay our respects to Lucenio, past, present, and future. We are grateful to have the opportunity to be part of this community in Lucenio territory and to honor their history, culture, and perseverance of spirit. Okay, thank you. And I do have one item to report out in closed session. On July 17th, 2025, the board in closed session by unanimous vote took action to approve the resignation agreement for the following employee: ID number 25-0717-1, a certificated info. Thank you, and now I will entertain a motion to, well, before I approve the agenda, I do want to make note that we did move, split up. Normally we do our staff presentations all towards the end of the agenda. We did move one item up to the front, which was to talk about the budget, and so we did that because we figured that was of a lot of great interest to all our community members. So instead of putting it at the end, we can get that out of the way so more people can hear. So with that being said, is there a motion to approve the agenda, or is there any questions? Anybody want anything that they would like to change about the agenda?
Motion to approve the agenda?
Okay, moved by trustee Martin, is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by trustee Alvarado. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Moving on, so we are moving to item 5A, and we do have a couple of poll cards. This is public comment. Can we have the first poll card is Kenneth Zaninga? And you will have each poll card will have 3 minutes to see.
Okay,
Just hold the light down. Yeah.
okay, oh, I have to hold it, okay. Hi, my name is Kenneth Zuniga, and I'm just here to ask the school board to look into adopting rules and regulations about the use of AI or artificial intelligence inside the classroom with students, as well as along with teachers and faculty with their instruction and grading. I've seen the state superintendent encourage the incorporation of AI into school. And while I encourage it, mostly because it's being forced into every product, I just want to remind the board about the potential dangers that could come with AI, so you as a board could better write the rules for a more balanced and progressive framework. I have a few articles that I printed out and I could provide them to you. One that's entitled like, "Hi Chat, I need help writing my essay." It's about how everyone's cheating their way through college. The Brookings Institute from What Happens to AI Chatbots When They Replace Real Human Connection. A study from MIT talking about how ChatGPT is eroding critical thinking skills. How AI is helping students become more independent, but creating isolation, which could ruin their potential in the future. And also, we need to think about how AI is used around the country, especially within data centers, how it's eating up, millions of gallons of water while we're facing a drought within our region. So yeah, studies have shown that, um, using chatbots, especially while writing papers and doing research, show that users have a cognitive decline, especially among younger people. This is troubling because we don't want our students to lack skills such as critical thinking and media literacy. We don't want our students or educators to rely on AI to form thoughts. Some ways that I think that the board could make improvements to like regulate AI is review all contracts with third parties and prohibit tools or products that sell data of our students. Because childhood shouldn't be a data mine, we should also mandate that there should be some AI literacy within our education so that students can understand biases and question algorithms and question, how these chatbots came up with certain ways. And we should also restrict generative AI, especially like ChatGPT, in grades K through 8 for core skills like reading, math, and writing. We should require students to go back to, the old version of using blue books to write so that we can enforce their writing skills, their reading skills, and research skills. We should also provide non-digital alternatives for assignments if AI is used, and make sure to do an annual audit of, curriculum and our contracts that the school has for students. Thank you.
Thank you. Could you email us those?
Oh, yeah, and then they're all pretty.
Thank you.
You can keep them, please.
Thank you. Okay, moving on. Next, Andrew McKinnell.
Good evening, board members. My name is Andrew McKinnell. I am a proud Mission Vista alum.
Hi, I'm Sophia Jaimes. I am a Vista High alum.
I'm here to talk to you today about something that deeply matters to me, that being the lack of water bottle refilling stations on our school campuses. At Mission Vista, I was a varsity athlete. So obviously, being a big guy, I needed to drink a lot of water in order to perform on the court, but also in the classroom. And unfortunately, our water fountains were corroded and also had a lot of like spider webs due to COVID. And the fountain's sanitary appearance was left many students feeling very untrusting of the quality of water that they were receiving. Which left me and many other students to go thirsty essentially, and kind of left me to endure pounding headaches in my classes. And as an alternative, many students currently rely on their refillable water bottle stations. And by providing students with quality water bottle refilling stations, Vista Unified School District will not only uphold sustainable practices, but also protect students from the microplastics of single-use plastic bottles. And I believe that refilling stations are integral to student success, and I want to urge the board to support their future development for our students. Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Moving on. Reports from school-related organizations, Vista Teachers Association. No, not for that. No. Carrie Avila.
Hello. Good evening, President Morocco. Sorry, not used to that. Good evening, President Morocco, trustees, Superintendent Dr. Doyle, staff, members of the Vista community that are watching from here and at home. I'm Carrie Avila, President of VTA, Vista Teachers Association. Thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight about a critical and urgent issue affecting our students, educators, and families, not just here, but across the state of California and the nation as well. In recent weeks, the federal government has taken an unprecedented action to withhold vital education funding, totaling in an estimated $928 million in California alone. These aren't just numbers on a spreadsheet. These are resources that support the heartbeat of our schools and the success of our students. Let me give you a breakdown of some of the programs impacted by this federal funding freeze. $232.9 million from supporting effective instruction state grants, money that ensures teachers to continue to grow professionally and deliver high quality education. $157.6 million from grants for English language acquisition and language enhancement, funding that supports English learners as they build the skills they need to succeed academically and thrive in our society. $152.9 million in student support and academic enrichment grants used for mental health services, well-rounded education, and safe learning environments. $146.6 million from 21st Century Community Learning Center state grants, programs that offer tutoring, academic support, and enrichment before and after school. $117 million in cuts to adult basic literacy education, including English literacy, civic education grants, resources that support adult learners working to improve their opportunities and to contribute to our communities. Together, this represents an alarming and deeply harmful withholding of $928 million in educational funding across California. Here in Vista, our district has been proud to offer robust, community-centered programs, from after-school enrichment to family literacy, from teacher development to student wellness initiatives. But under these cuts, Vista stands to lose, I believe, $8 million?
1.4.
1.4 in support for these very programs. To be clear, these are not abstract losses. These cuts will directly impact educator development, migrant student support, English learner programs, student enrichment and mental health services, 21st century learning centers that families rely on, and adult learners who depend on our programs for career readiness, literacy, and citizenship. Some states have already begun laying off teachers. If this funding is not restored, California districts may soon be forced to make difficult and damaging choices. We are speaking tonight not just to inform the board, but to educate our community, especially those listening via live stream, about the real consequences of these federal actions. Public education is the foundation of democracy and opportunity, and right now that foundation is being chipped away. We call on all levels of government to act urgently to restore these funds, and we call on our community to stay informed and engaged. Every student in Vista deserves a high-quality, fully funded education, no matter their background, age, or zip code. Thank you very much for it.
Thank you. Moving on, it's our California School Employees Association. Is Ramos here? Is there anyone? Okay. And do we have D-Line?
We do not, they have not had a meeting since.
Okay, so and D-Line, we don't have a D-Line presentation this. All right, moving on is 7A, committee report, federal funding update, summer 2025. It's the Dr. LaShusha.
Thank you, President Morocco, Vice President Martin, members of the Board of Trustees. I wish I was presenting to you on a different topic this evening, but I'm presenting to you on something that is unfortunately complicated, unknown, and we wish to walk you through this in a way that we hope will provide some clarity. To be specific, we are talking about one of three topics that many people are talking about regarding federal funding. The three topics, to be clear, are separate but related. The first topic is budget for 2025. Recall, our budget starts every year on July 1st and goes 1 year. The federal budget doesn't start on July 1st, it starts in October. Okay, so they're at the end of their 2025 cycle right now. So the first topic is the 2025 budget, and that's our primary focus this evening. The second topic is the passage of what is officially called the Act. This act doesn't, in fact, cut any money from K-12 education federally, but it doesn't specify how it should be used. That's for a future process called the 2026 budget. That is something that requires a different conversation that hasn't begun. This also is incredibly complex in terms of understanding how federal budgets are done. And we talk a lot about state budgets, and man, are they confusing. Now we're talking about federal budgets, which can be even more confusing. So why don't we start a little bit about the process, all right? So the amount that we get any given year represents 8 to 10% of our budget from federal funding. Depends on the year. Certainly that went up during COVID, during times of need or emergency circumstances. We've received the ESSER Act funds, others, but generally speaking, 8 to 10% is a sound number to work with, all right? The current budget amount is about 8% for this upcoming year. That's what you would have seen in the budget that has been passed by this board. Federal funds, unlike most other funds, are a little different. State funds we get on a month in, month out basis. We don't get all the money up front. We get it basically every month, every other month, and we spend as we go. So when we say we have a $350 million budget, we don't get 350, it's dispersed over the year, if that makes sense. Federal funds are completely different. Federal funds we get reimbursed for. Okay, so we didn't receive federal funds in advance. What we do is we submit proof that we spent them with fidelity. We get reimbursed at the end of the cycle. We would not normally at this moment see federal funds from last year. The state normally does. We don't. We get it a little bit later, if that makes sense. Okay, so when we talk about what are the immediate impacts, you may have seen that many school districts leaders, President Morocco, others, myself included in recent articles, talked about what are the impact of this moment. Well, we don't normally get those. This is a cash flow issue as a discussion so far. All right. Now that we have clarity on that we get the money after the fact, reimbursement. What are the sorts of programs that you're normally talking about? What is that 8 to 10%? What is it? Well, it's the National School Lunch Program. Remember, we had that wonderful presentation from CNS, how many 65 times Petco Park over that we feed in students every year. All of the things that we do. Special education. It doesn't cover anywhere close to what we need, but it certainly helps in this process, right? Career and technical adult education, Perkins 131, 132, all of these very funding sources are incredible and things that we value for our student experience and for progressing our community. The focus of what's happening right now are around title funds. And to be clear, this impacts different districts differently. And we have to speak as one educational community, as I think President Avila did just beautifully. But we don't receive all of those title funds. Other school districts, this will impact in different ways. For us, it's about $1.45 million that is currently in discussion and play, about 0.45% of your budget. But for other districts, this is 1 or 2%. This is a huge, could be catastrophic, right? So we need to understand those things. So let's talk a moment about the distribution, what we're talking about. I'm pulling quotes from recent articles. These aren't my quotes. I'm sharing with you quotes from legal scholars. The first is on distribution. The claim is that the federal administration recent announcement is that it's freezing. In fact, what it's doing something called impounding. Okay, so a little difference between those two. It's a little legal nuance, but I didn't want to change the quote. They said it's freezing. Of $6.8 billion, all right, K-12 funding of specific title funds. They have impounded it as part of a process that funds become impounded when you do a review process. Now, the state already has deferred us a few months on payments. This is the equivalent of a federal audit of programs and services with a deferral. That's the budget's already been passed, to be clear. The 2025 budget was passed. It was signed by both President Biden and President Trump. Signatures on the page. This is different as a conversation, fundamentally different about a future conversation of 2026. 2025, what we're talking about is the Office of Management and Budget, who has the authority to review, is reviewing $6.8 billion federally. And while they do that, they're impounding it. They must by law release it by October 1. The beginning of the next fiscal year. All right. There are lawsuits currently in play. Dr. Doyle and I have been on the phone with legislatures, with lawyers, with CSEA, VA, all sorts of people talking about this. There's already a consortium of states, 17 states that have sued the federal government saying, understood, you have this right, but we also have constitutional property rights for employees that passed on March 15th. Therefore, you owe us the release of the funds now. And that's playing out right now in the courts. But from our perspective, while they can legally do this, it creates a disruption on cash flow. And really, what are we talking about that could be any sort of possible things? Well, let's first look at what specifically is impacting us. We're talking about title funds. The review process is really not known to us in any depth. They're looking at a programmatic review, which typically means our school districts and states spending the money appropriately. By the way, we do an internal audit on this topic. We believe we have. We have an external auditor. They believe we spent it appropriately, right? We have the county office. They believe we've had it. We have been subject to state reviews who believe we've spent the money appropriately. Now is a federal review looking at how the states do it. That's what's occurring, all right? So how much money is in play? Well, according to the San Diego County Office of Education, they were kind enough to run figures. They came up with this figure, about $1.469 million of our current approved budget is in play in this discussion. And this is how it breaks out. Professional development, 615,000, Title IIIA, English learner supports, 406, right? This is how it breaks down into these three pots as it pertains to us. We do not receive some of the other funds that were referred to this evening, but again, we care about all students. This does impact migrant education, adult, it has far-reaching possibilities, all
Just
right?
a quick note on migrant education. We receive the funds, but it's a pass through to the county office. of
Correct.
education. So they're the ones that are responsible for spending it. So we have migrant programs in our district through San Diego County Office.
What if the county superintendent stated?
She's been in all the meetings with us. Their team is sending exactly the same information forward, but it will have a direct impact on migrant education.
So let's look at sort of what are the things, where are we in this process? So right now, the programs are under review by OMB. Again, we don't have details as to what they're looking at. I think that's part of the part that all of us are talking about. It creates instability. You can hear it this evening. It's the instability that is disrupting us. It's cash flow. It's these things. How do we mitigate that? Well, what could the OMB findings be? Well, typically there can really only be three primary findings broken down into two categories. The first one would be the OMB comes out and says, yeah, we've reviewed the funding of the programs and we find that the spending is consistent with the intent, release the funds, no changes, have a nice day. That certainly could happen. A second would be is that they come out and say, we find there's some inconsistencies and we have one of two recommendations. Option one would be they issue guidance. Let me give an example of guidance. I'm not going to use any names because instability is in the air. If I use the name of a program or service, we will get nervous. If OMB were to say in issuing guidance, use of funds Y is not consistent. You cannot use Title X funds for that. If that's the sort of guidance that they would give us, Ms. Machado and I would go back, we would look at our budget and say, okay, then we don't fund that out of Title X. We're going to fund it in this way, and we still have done the program. That's done. That's typically how you handle it. I can't promise it, but it's typically. So the first sort of thing is that they would issue guidance. The second, and by the way, issuing guidance is usually met with a lot of lawyers. A lot of legal things happen, okay? Option two is they can say, we find that this funding is completely inconsistent. They have to send it for congressional review and 60 senators have to vote to change it. Those are the facts as we know them as explained by legal counsel at the federal, state, and local level. So we want to put the facts on the table. What is our
What
process?
happens if they don't vote to change it?
It remains the same. So how we actually got here is the reason why the budget for 2025 is signed by two presidents is because the budget over the course of years has not received 60 votes in the Senate. And so they do a continuing resolution that doesn't require it and the president sign off on it. President Biden had a continuing resolution for 2025 for the exact same levels. President Trump did not succeed in changing that, also signed a continuing resolution, right? So talking about 2025, they would have to retroactively change the budget that has been signed and agreed upon and the parameters to it with 60 votes. That is what we have been told to legally engage in that.
So if it doesn't pass, it would be status quo.
That is correct. So we are gonna await sort of this process and the items and monitor it. As for what is occurring in terms of the act, that middle grouping. In the act, the amount for K-12 education was the same as we understand it. The cuts that were made, there were cuts to education, are primarily regarding student loans and higher education. Now, for the 2026 budget development, we don't know what they're talking about. Just because the amount is there doesn't mean it's distributed the same in the title funds. We don't know that information. Some of the conversation is perhaps they will talk about the same title fundings they were. They're also speaking about things that we've talked to you about. They've talked about block granting all federal funds together, special education, all of it, and just sending it directly to districts and saying you deal with it. There's lots of things, but we don't have those facts at all. And I don't want to speculate too heavily because we just don't know. They haven't even held their first meeting to talk about it yet. It doesn't really happen until the future. And what has happened historically is they don't have enough votes to do it and they end up with a continuing resolution. So that is sort of my sharing this evening as far as next steps. We plan to monitor. We're attending about 2 meetings a week to get updated on this. We are preparing cash flow options because we don't know. So we have to look at our cash flow options. We're trying to raise awareness about this. So that way we keep you informed and the public informed. And then factually speaking, and you may have read this in a recent article in the Union Tribune, countywide districts do not have enough information to possibly give you information on the 45-day revision. The first time we will have factual knowledge about this is probably the first interim report. So we just want to be clear on the expectations of what's
And
next.
when is that due?
December.
Thank you. All right, thank you. Any questions or comments? Go ahead, Trustee Alvarado.
A comment, come October 1st, if there's any changes to what we were expecting to get. I'm requesting that we have a special board meeting to discuss those changes, right after October 1st, if any. So that we can be proactive in addressing those, shortfall, or I would say, finding other sources to fund our programs and serve our students.
Okay, thank you.
So
Okay, any other questions or comments? Go ahead, Trustee Martin.
A comment. Quite a few comments, actually. Children and education is a valued item, and it really depends on what we value. I want to talk a little bit on a bigger scale. We're looking at the closure of the Department of Education, the possible closure. It was created in the 1960s by President Lyndon Johnson, who 30 years prior to that was teaching migrant students in the state of Texas, who came to school with no food, no shoes. It was the Great Depression. Migrant children, white, black, brown, coming in and out, moving on, but it made an impact on him. When he became president, he created the Department of Education. And the purpose was to ensure that regardless of where you lived regionally, you had the chance, the opportunity to get an education that you could then sustain a career, or at least make choices. Regionally, everything was equal. Losing that, we're going to see great differences within the United States as far as education goes. That scares me. I spent 24 years teaching history here in Vista Unified. History is cyclical. We already had states controlling education until Johnson created the Department of Education. That was in the 60s. So it's been 60 years. And now we're going back to giving education back to the states. Think of it regionally and wonder, not just for kids in California. I know we'll do whatever we can for kids in California. I know that. But kids in other areas, I care about all the kids in this country, and this breaks my heart, breaks my heart. For our community here in Vista, we're gonna do everything we can, but if the funding gets cut, we're going to have to rely on each other. We're going to have to help each other. We're gonna have to think big picture, because there is no magic money. The state's doing what they can, but imagine, this is just Vista Unified. Do you know how many districts are in the state of California? They can't backfill all of us. They can't. So we're going to have to help each other somehow. After school programs, extended learning. What about our kids, keeping them safe after school? I read an article in Education Week this week. 926 boys and girls clubs may close. 926 that keep kids safe after school while their parents and caregivers are working. What are we going to do? This is heartbreaking. So here's something you can do, and I hope you will. There are approximately 435 members of the House. There's 100 senators. I don't care what party they are. I don't care if they're independent. It doesn't matter. Mass email all of them and tell them to stop this. You don't see a child's future until they create that. They're not cogs in a factory. We can't look next week and go, wow, we made a profit. No, 10, 20, 30 years down the line, if we take these education opportunities away, what will happen to them? And it's always been, we try to make the next generation better. We're not doing that if we take away their education opportunities. We have to do something about this. Please reach out to your Congress members and then massive email all the members of Congress, because they're not paying attention. And one last thing, this is not going to lower our federal deficit. Not at all. It's probably going to go up, estimated $3 to $4 trillion in the next 10 years. This money that they're taking from education will go elsewhere. There's two places, and if you want to know, come and ask me and I'll tell you. Please do something. Help us, help you, and these kids here in Vista. Let's keep them safe. Let's give them educational opportunities. Let's give them a chance at a future that I had, that you had. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments?
Yeah, Dr. Doyle or Dr. Loescher, going back to migrant education, proud graduate or alumni of that program. Looking at slide number 4, is that the same as migrant ed for the English language learners and student support, or is that separate?
No, migrant education is separate from that fund entirely.
Got it. We have actually with the highest number of migrant ed students in North County, Vista Unified does. Can we get a number of like, what is the fiscal impact, if that's their narrative, to bring to our state, or not our state, but our federal legislatures and our, US representatives?
Yeah, we can get you in there. We can get you the exact number on that. As I mentioned, we do have migrant programs. We actually have them as we speak in summer school. And it's all passed through with the county. We have a tight relationship with the County Office of Education. We'll get you the number, the amount that's given to us that then is passed through to the county.
Yeah, and with that being said, school starts next month, and so what is the contingency plan? If obviously, we're not gonna get an answer before October 1st, but I mean, like, teachers have already been hired, plans have already been made. What is our plan for that program specifically here in Vista Unified?
So two things, in the Friday letter, you will see, we will share with you a document from the County Office of Education that will share with you by titles, the impacts to the county by district. Including migrant education and it's all line items, and it will outline that. So that way you can understand how it impacts everybody in different ways in the county. We have that document for you, this week. In terms of what are the contingency plans, what we know is, first, the needs of our students did not change. Right, so we have to meet the needs of our students. In terms of contingency plans, we would come back to the table to present what our options are. We do have, as we go through on our multi-year projection, we only have 0.49 to work with on year 3, but we would have to present you what are the budgeting options to mitigate through this. I believe we have strategies in place to mitigate the next year. I believe we can work through that, but we would have to propose some items regarding the rules of budgeting perhaps resolution for future year reductions and other things in order to make your multi-year projection. But we're gonna know more here shortly, and we'll be coming back to you with strategies, because again, the needs of our students did not change. Everything else did.
Now, the federal government's gonna notify us, or we'll get a memo October first. When's the next time we revise our budget for the school board? Is it around that time frame as well?
Well, we can revise the budget at any point during the school year. Normally it would be a 45-day revision, but likely if this information isn't resolved prior to the 45-day, we would probably reconvene and address it in October.
Yeah, I mean, I would hate to cut services, at the beginning of the school year, knowing that we already made a commitment to our families, our students, and obviously, we have to plan for 3 years from now. But definitely like to revisit this conversation as it relates to
Yeah.
funding and the actual staffing of our classes.
Absolutely, we'll work you on it. That's why we're providing this presentation tonight. We do not anticipate any impact on our schools in the next 2 to 3 months. But that's because we have sufficient funding to address that, because we get the money in arrears. The issue will be after October.
And thank you. Any other?
Yeah, I just had a quick question about the OMB review. Are they giving these findings per district? How does that work?
Our understanding is no, they're not giving it per district. They're looking at it more as a programmatic, how are states doing it? So part of what you're pointing out here, Trustee Markov, is there's not a lot of information available. And there's a few things that create the feeling of tension and instability right now. One is this hasn't been done in education. This isn't regular practice to do this at this point, right? This is a past budget. This is in the rears. This is behind us, right? So that leaves people already a lot on edge. And I'll speak for myself. I certainly was on edge when I heard this, right? The second is there isn't a lot of information. So we're trying to figure out, and we hate to speculate in these sort of presentations, and share all of our thoughts. I don't know. What we've been told is likely looking at how states do it and distribute it. But typically when we get through this, it more heavily leans to if there's an inconsistency, right? In auditing terms, if there's an inconsistency of finding, they usually say, well, in order to meet the criteria for this finding, you need to do the following. All right. And when that's the case, then you say, okay, here are our options to do it. The concern that I heard Trustee Vargas express is, well, what happens if they don't release the funds at all? Or they do it? And that's a different question. So those are the two in play.
Any other questions or comments? I have a comment. I'm sure you all agree. It is incredibly irresponsible of the federal government to disorient our school districts and our children this way. It's unforgivable, and it's sort of playing wool with the lives and futures of our children. And I love what Trustee Martin said. I completely agree with her 100%. Thank you for saying that. And I know that here in Vista, we will do everything that we can and must to put the children first. So I do, that's my comment. Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, thank you. Thank you, Dr. Lusher. We are going to move on to our discussion action items. Item 8A, ratified purchase orders. Is there do you have any questions? No, okay. I will entertain a motion to ratify the purchase orders.
I move to approve 8A.
Okay, so moved by trustee Alvarado. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by trustee Markov. Any further questions or discussions? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, moving on. Item 8B, approve the following individuals to serve on the Citizens Bond Oversight Committee for a 2-year term for Measure LL. Is there any questions? Any discussion? Okay, seeing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve item 8B.
I motion to approve item 8B.
Moved by trustee Markov. Is there a second?
Second.
seconded by trustee Alvarado. Any further question, discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries unanimously. Moving on to item 8C, approve the resolution 2605, authorizing the use of Sourcewell contract, number 081524-JFA awarded to JF Petroleum. Any questions? I actually have one, very quickly, it's gonna be a simple one. JF Petroleum, they are a petroleum company, or is it just the name, they're just?
And no, ma'am, actually, it's a very misleading name. This contract's actually for EV chargers for Bobier Elementary.
Okay.
They happen to be called JF Petroleum.
Thank you, thanks for clarifying that, that was what I wanted to do. Okay, any further questions or discussion?
Yeah, so we did not put an electrification resolution on the same night we were going to approve petroleum.
Thank you, I'm so glad you did that. That you did not do that. Okay, thank you. Okay, I will entertain a motion to approve item 8C.
I move to approve 8C.
Okay, moved by trustee Alvarado, is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by trustee Markov, any further discussion?
Yeah, Dr. Lusher, is this the purchase of the material and the construction of it, or is it just purchasing and then?
No, no, sir, this is neither. This is actually a piggyback contract to allow for us to continue with our district standard. We standardize on charge point in conjunction with our partners at the city of Vista, city of Oceanside. And these chargers would be the ones installed over at Bobier Elementary, the piggyback contract. The budget for this exists inside of Measure LL in this case. And this just allows us to permit the procurement of those items so we can install them.
Once the project is complete.
Got it, and as it relates to the implementation, is that I guess that'll be a follow-up conversation, should we talk about it now?
I think we should probably bring that back,
I would bring it back.
but we can bring it back to you. This project would be delayed. Obviously, they wouldn't be installed until the project is finished, which would be a year from now.
Okay, good, thank you.
Okay, so, I'm sorry.
We're good. We're good.
Just, okay, so I will entertain a motion to approve item 8C,
I move to approve 8C.
moved by trustee Alvarado, is there a second?
Again.
Seconded by trustee Markov, any further discussion? Seeing none, I will call for the vote, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries unanimously. Moving on to item 8D, approve option for the long-range facility master plan updates for 2026. Does anyone need the present, is there?
We do have a presentation. I believe that you should hear the presentation. Yes.
Okay. All right,
So this is, again, Dr. Losher's here. We have some representatives that will help. I believe it's Kristen Bill is here as well. You please step forward, Kristen. Thank you for being back. And just as a simple introduction, as you know, this board and previous board brought forward the brilliant idea of developing a long-range facility master plan, not just for our district, but for every single school and facility in our district. And that really has paved the way for some of the great success you've seen in buildings across our district. And I hope that you're as proud as I am as you see these buildings go up. We would not have been able to do what we have accomplished had we not had a plan, a long-range facility master plan. And as we queue up and the board considers a potential move toward a bond in the future, we would need them to refresh a plan. So the purpose of tonight is for you to consider refreshing the long-range facility master plan that we have. Take it away, Dr. Losher.
Thank you, Dr. Doyle, President Morocco, Vice President Martin, members of the Board of Trustees. It's my pleasure to introduce Ms. Kristen Rose, who's going to take you through this presentation. I do want to take us back a little bit to a topic of that long-range facility master plan. When it was passed in the summer of 2023, one of the things we informed you was, this is a living document that you need to refresh from time to time. There's new information, new things happen, you find new things. Demands change, other things happen, so it needs to be updated. Also, state requirements, code requirements change. We just had a wonderful question that we'll bring back from Trustee Vargas. What about the implementation of EV chargers? I know President Morocco has been talking about this. This is embedded in our long-range facility master plan, all right? So as we look at this and we look in order to get ready for having those conversations, not just about a potential new bond member, but all of the things we do and how we prioritize our work. There are some new state requirements. We were way ahead of things. Before the state required a long-range facility master plan, we had one, but now it's a requirement for state funding and other things. So what's being presented this evening is a brief overview of the past, some options for it. Now, how would we fund this? This actually would come out of restricted funds, not out of the GFU, it would come out of a fund called developer fees that would be used for this purpose. It's a specific use fund allowed for the developing of particular items. So regardless of what option you engage in, we would be there. And she'll walk you through, and then we'll answer any specific questions you have. So I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you. Welcome.
Oh, that was-
You don't have
No, you don't have to push.
Okay, thank you. It's been a little bit since I've been here. Good to see everyone and some new faces as well. My name is Kristen Rose. I'm representing Brunel Clark Architects and Foresight Planning, which is our planning division. So I'm gonna go over, I don't know if we can get
Can you go to the
that
next
full
slide?
screen. Oh, I wasn't sure if you wanted to do it full screen. So I'm gonna go over just our agenda today really quickly. We've got the master plan review. We'll review what we did in the development of the master plan in 2023. We'll provide some highlights of the master plan, some context for this update, and then some options for the update. Okay, go ahead next. So the facility master plan in review. We began in March of 2022 with data collection, and this is just us getting all of the information as it relates to your existing facilities, your enrollment, and anything else that impacts your facilities. And then in April through June, we completed facility assessments. I want to highlight here that these were visual assessments that were completed by teams of architects and engineers. They're observational assessments of existing conditions and providing some insights into some needs in terms of deficiencies. From March to June, actually March 2022 to June 2023, we actually included, we completed some extensive stakeholder engagement. We had visioning sessions, which help us align educational outcomes and facility needs. We completed focus groups with all of your district departmental teams. We held executive committee meetings, which also included 2 board members as a part of those committees. And then we completed extensive community engagement from June to November. So this included both in-person and virtual sessions, multiple sessions at multiple sites. From there, with an understanding of all of your existing conditions, an understanding of your desired vision, input from your community in terms of priorities, we were then able to develop a master plan, which is the scopes of work and the related costs for that work. And then from there, once we had an understanding of what those projects might look like, we worked with especially the executive steering committee to develop an implementation plan that aligns priorities, costs, and funding. We brought several drafts before the board during that time to kind of go over what are the priorities that we want to see reflected in the master plan. Go ahead, next. So some highlights of the master plan, some of the components that are included in that plan. There's a capacity analysis, which evaluates the current and projected enrollment as compared to the available classroom spaces, and including recommendations for right sizing, portable, removal, or replacement, et cetera. It included the outline of condition assessments. So we did architectural, mechanical, electrical, plumbing, structural assessments. These are qualitative assessments of existing conditions. Next. We did community engagement survey. So in addition to our live and virtual sessions, we also issued a survey which asks several questions about specific projects and project priorities. And that helped us to develop an understanding of consensus around some big ideas. We also included education specifications. These are the design criteria that identify the ways in which facilities are intended to support educational outcomes, space typologies, adjacencies, and components. It included site master plans, so all the proposed scopes of work, including new construction, major modernization, as well as minor modernization, and the implementation plan, which is the cost summary, site priority groups, and the scope of work matrix. So here's the context for the update. We've got some updated state requirements. We've got some external economic factors which impact the projected costs for the proposed plans. Also, master plans are intended to be living documents. They are meant to be updated to reflect your progress and changes in priorities. And it's an opportunity for additional voices if so desired. So if you want some additional community engagement, that's also an opportunity during the refresh. We put together some sample options for what some of the scope of work for that refresh looks like and what the related costs might be. I want you guys to look at this as more of a menu. These are some of the different options that we've developed that reflect some of the potential needs of your master plan update. So just to go through some of those, option one is kind of a light refresh. We would ensure that you have all your state compliance requirements. Your current master plan as it is now meets, I would say 90% of what you needed. There's a couple of things that we would need to go back and add in there. We would also want to update cost to current market conditions so that we better reflect your projected need for costs. And then we would want to convert to a digital cost dashboard for improved long-term use. One of the things about your previous plan is that it is a printed document or a digital document, and we have since kind of innovated a little bit more to make it much more useful for district teams to be able to update these, so it's more of a dynamic dashboard. So that would be option one. Option two includes all of option one plus a building system lifecycle update. Now, this is a detailed assessment and inventory of your building systems with lifecycle forecasting for you. So this is much more in-depth assessment than our qualitative architectural and engineering assessment. This would be going to all of your sites, assessing all of your systems, and then and somewhat of a light inventory of those systems, and then identifying the remaining life cycle. And so the projected costs on that go year by year. It's a very, very detailed assessment, but it gives you a much deeper dive in terms of your life cycle replacement needs.
And give me an example of what you mean by systems.
So I mean something like your heating, ventilation, air conditioning system, right? So they would go and look at all of your rooftop units and say, on this building, we expect that those units have another 10 years of useful life. And we project that you would need to replace them in say 2035. And the cost for that in 2035 would be this, right? And so they do that for all of your systems. They'll do it for your flooring, for your lighting, for your roofing, so all of those elements, lots and lots of elements, they would provide that projected life cycle assessment. Option three includes all of option one and option two. And then it adds on and updates to scope of work and site maps. So that would be any changes to potential sites or projects, right, to reflect some of the things that you guys have done more recently, or some of the proposed changes that you have on particular sites. So right now, the plans that are in the master plan reflect the input and the outcomes of that time of the master plan. And so we would go in and update maps to show the changes. And then option four is all of option three, plus converting to a web-based plan. So we have our dashboard, which gives you some costs and some dynamic elements. But option four says, okay, let's take your entire plan and put it online in a website format rather than a book format for you. And then it would also include some additional community engagement. So if you wanted to engage with the community further, get their input, their feedback on priorities, it includes that as well. And again, like I said, we're looking at this as a menu of options. So if you'd like to kind of mix and match, we're open to doing that as well.
Thank you. Any questions? I have one. Dr. Bushler, you said that these funds would come out of the development fund?
Yeah.
What, do you happen to know how much we currently have in that fund available for us to?
There's approximately $11 million in developer fees. It's one of the areas that we dip into time to time that when we're permitted to. This is deemed to be a permissible use. So you have enough funds for each of these options.
Thank you. And is there a preferred one that the district has?
I believe option four is the most comprehensive of them, particularly for online formats, but that would be the prerogative of the board.
Yeah, the only thing I would add, President Morocco, is option 3 or 4 gives this board, because it's a new board, the option to make adjustments to what aspects of improvement on each site could be made.
I think that's a good clarification and to more thoroughly answer, let's say you would choose option 2. We've been holding conversations with our architect. Steve is here this evening and we appreciate Steve for being here, but we've been holding conversations with that there are particular campuses where we want to go in deeper and we would be recommending regardless. For example, we want to go and look at where could you put some buildings at some of our high schools, like at RBV, and what would you do on these things, right? So even if you were to say, we prefer option two, we would still recommend you would give us the leeway to do like 5 full site reviews. So that way we could get into some of them where we have more information.
Go ahead, Jermaine.
My question is this an ongoing service that you would provide? Is this a one-time service?
It can be structured to several different ways. This particular refresh, as it's formatted here, is kind of a one-time, we're gonna refresh it up to your standard. In terms of the continuing refreshes, what I will say is the changing from the printed document, which is very static, to the dynamic dashboard means any updates your team can do internally, it's just updating a spreadsheet, or we can do things like updating maps as you see fit. So it really is up to you and how you see it. We can do kind of ongoing contracts for a much lower cost for refreshes once we get to that more dynamic stage.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Looking at the last bullet point, community engagement, how does this different from Civic X, the consultant that does bond?
Yeah, so let's talk a little bit about data. I know that's the least attractive subject in the world. A lot of what CivX does is they work with, so CivX in particular talks about strategies for dealing with facility funding and bonds and what you do during a process when you go for an election. They typically contract with somebody who specifically deals within the realm of quantitative data, numbers, surveys. All right. Now, quantitative data, for those of us that are the data geeks, they might tell you kind of what's going on, but not why. Qualitative data, interviews, interactions with the community, that tells you why. The sort of civic engagement, community engagement being talked about here is qualitative data. You're talking with people, you're getting a lot of information from community meetings that you get more in depth. And it's typically a mixture, what's called mixed methods of quantitative and qualitative data together that give us the best information scientifically to make the informed decisions.
If I could add to that, one of the other key components of the community engagement that we're doing during this process that maybe your bond, pollster might not do is we're giving education as well. So we're helping the public and the community understand the context in which you guys are making facility decisions, how funding for facilities works. So there's a lot of educational components that happen during that community engagement process.
Our last round was the first time a lot of people learned in the public that we have like 1.2 billion to 1.5 billion dollars in needs. It was in those sessions.
Got it. So we go with option 4, the community engagement and web based is about $300,000. Out of the $300,000, how much of that is community engagement?
Oh, I would have to look at the exact breakdown, but it would depend because you're at 286. The biggest line item in there is your building life cycle update. That's the most in-depth piece. The 575, where it jumps up for the community engagement. Some of that is going to be for the web-based piece. We've got our web developer who's got some time on there.
Yeah.
And then the community engagement, it does depend on you. So the way that we have it in there is for multiple meetings across, different sites and whatnot. So it can be tailored to the level of community engagement that you're looking at. We've also identified, I believe in that one, principal meetings. So we would meet with all of your site principals.
Got it. So would that be like a full-time equivalent?
In terms of,
Engagement, because I'm looking at it from like an FTE, like, if we were to spend this on internal versus external.
Oh, I see.
Community engagement.
okay,
So, yeah, our experience from the last time when we did the long range facility plan, you're not talking about FTE equivalent, you're talking like 5 to 6 FTE equivalents over the course of the year between all of the people going out and doing things. It is a massive effort. You may recall the long range facility master plan that's published, which is over 400 pages, is actually the top sheet of 10,000 pages of reports. So when you look at this, yeah, we have them come down, we send out teams because it's oftentimes more productive for the community to hear this from experts that are architects and engineers than directly from the district. They lead those meetings. They come in and take that on. Usually it's a team of 3 of them that come on a regular basis. Then there's the planning meetings, the debrief meetings, and the others.
No, that's helpful.
Yeah.
Bringing different people, that's not just one single person, because
No.
it's not the expert in all these members. Got it. Thank
Yes,
you.
sir.
Trustee Alvarado.
Yes, regarding the developer fees, Dr. Loescher, what, give us an example of what those fees are used for besides, updating and paying for a long-range facilities master plan. So I can kind of think about like, if we went with one versus the other, what we might be able to do.
Sure. In some cases, it can be used for some emergency repairs. It has to be typically used in regards to addressing, upgrading some sort of facility because of a predicted change related to building happening in the community. So we don't receive what's called Melrose Roots dollars. We don't receive a different funding source. In this case, these are funds that are raised because people are remodeling their homes. So it's typically for emergency repairs of some kind as a backup that has to be approved within a school community. You can use it for a few other minor items regarding projections and layout and planning, architecture fees, and a few other things of that nature. So sometimes, for example, if we are looking at going out for another bond, it would maybe an appropriate source to use developer fees to pay for some of the consultants. If you're looking at developing something and you're not sure where you're going to eventually fund it out of, you may fund your architect out of that as a temporary funding source, as a permanent funding source while you explore things. So it's a really unusual fund, a little different than the others, where you have to be careful. And we typically have to go back and check several times to make sure we're permitted for use with the county.
All right, my next question is, the time frame. How long would it take to, complete option 3 and then compare that with the time frame to complete option 4?
The time frame or the difference between those two, are probably honestly, maybe about 6 weeks for that web-based development between option 3 and 4. The total time frame, we would be looking at a completion likely early spring. A lot of that has to do with when we can do your community engagement, right? So, your community, we want to get in front of them when they are actively involved in your schools and things like that. So we typically wait till the fall to do engagement, and then we have to look at what that scheduling looks like.
The primary difference is staffing levels. So you have more staff involved, which costs more. On the final option, the time frame is within the same general parameter.
So let's say we don't do the community engagement,
Yeah.
option 3, completion time.
Sure.
Spring as well?
Yeah.
Okay.
Any other questions? Go for it.
Is there a requirement that we do this year? Can it be postponed until after October 1st perhaps, or?
Sure, so there's a couple of things. Is there a requirement? There are new state requirements that if you want to apply for any sort of matching funds on items or do things, you do now have to have a long-range facility master plan that meets some of these requirements. So there are some requirements. You can skip applying for it. That is correct. But then you may have skipped the funding opportunity. 2 is if you want to delay till October 1st, which is your prerogative to do, you may not have this in place for a process where you are engaging in a conversation about a bond. This is a requirement for many organizations, for example, the San Diego Taxpayers Association, to have a current long-range facility master plan to receive their endorsement. These are requirements on that regard. So if we delay in time, then you may not have it ready within that. Our purpose in coming to you this evening was so at least you can have the opportunity to discuss, that you don't feel that you have to pass a contract this evening. That's why we didn't bring you a contract. We brought you options and you can engage in the discussion. But it would be the recommendation, if we're going to be looking at a bond, would be to use the restricted funding source and get started sooner. What we know, as we tell you spring, is the last time we did our long-range facility master plan, which just to be clear, and a compliment to Steve and Kristen Rose, was in record time. It took much longer because some of the elements that we wanted to do had some delays. We went to some community engagements and nobody was there. We had to go back and re-engage. So spring would be optimal for a timetable. We want to make sure we're ready by summer. And that's why we bring it to you this summer. So we're guaranteeing we're ready by next with the updates. Yes, ma'am.
Can I give a comment?
Sure.
Okay, so regarding, measure LL. And it's tied to it, we had numbers, or the board had numbers that weren't actually accurate for how much it would cost
Correct.
to do this work. And so in the interest of having the most updated, transparent numbers for the community. I believe it's in the board's best interest to do a refresh, whatever the will of the board is, 1 through 4, but so that we have, so they understand the true cost, especially with cost escalation, and also so, the community members don't think they're gonna get something really grand when it costs, the costs are not, accurate.
Yeah, can you give the example of the escalation for Bovier? Like,
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think there's a couple of things that are here, and I think trustee Alvarado and trustee Vargas are bringing up a good point. A real example would be Bovier. When you start in the process, as you're reviving it, just in a discussion of saying, well, we can delay doing something for a year, the cost can escalate in that year and towards a total construction cost 10-12%, right? Well, that's one factor. Part of what this does is not just cost escalation projection. What we've talked about in this room together and shared with the community is there's been market factor adjustments that are massive. The fact of the matter is, when I go to the community, if I go to the Taxpayers Association or anybody, and I say our long-range facility master plan, which by the way has won awards for its accuracy, but was done 2 years ago. By the time this is published, it would be updated on year 3. That is the maximum lifespan. As we said, it's a living document. When I go to the community and say our needs are about $1.2 billion plus escalation, perhaps another 150, 200 million, that may not be wholeheartedly accurate at this moment with market factor adjustments. It could be well in excess of that. So in order to have an accuracy, and what trustee Alvarado is speaking about is we want to make a promise we can keep to the community. We want to be able to say, if we're to go for a future bond, and here's what we plan to do, this is what we think it will cost accurately, rather than to go and leave them feeling that we broke their trust, that somehow we weren't able to do those things. So that is the purpose.
I have a couple questions. So here's a good example. So is Vista High. We've got some facilities that we just did recent construction. Would they need option 4, or could we just get away with them for like option 1? Or can we do that? Can we pick and choose sites, stuff like that?
So what I did ask, in fairness to the team here, is I asked them for some ballpark costs. Clearly, we have some spaces where there would be little revisions necessary. We would come back to the board at the next meeting with a proposal of actual costs. And yes, there are some sites that would not be included in there as part of that. So I would anticipate there would be some revised costs.
So when we're looking at, for example, option 4, and there's a total cost of $575,000, does that exclude some of those sites, or is that for every site?
That is for every site.
Okay.
It would be,
So
so it would
that's
be
the
lower, that's the maximum.
Correct.
amount.
And so, Sean, if I'm understanding, I want to make sure I'm understanding clearly. You're saying that staff can make a recommendation of which sites and which options and come back to us with that.
Correct. And again, what we've endeavored to do in the last year is not come back to the board and say, surprise, it's more than 575,000. What we endeavor to do is say a ballpark projection based upon this. If we did everything, it would not exceed 575. If the board were interested in 4, we would come back with a proposal. We would not be recommending that every site be done. We don't feel that's required. But we would come back with a revised proposal and say, we would be looking, let me give an example. We would be looking at, we wanted more precise placements on pools for high school because we believe that would be interest. What would that look like at every high school? There's not an exact placement of that. Let's look at that. Let's look at building placement on campus A, B, and C. Let's not talk about Bovier at all. It's just been rebuilt. Let's not talk about these other ones. Let's focus in here because we have a lot more information.
So, so again, I want to clarify that you're saying that you would come back to us and say, well,
Yes.
for this site, let's say Mission Vista,
Correct.
we're looking at option 2. We
Correct.
recommend option 2 for, Vita, we're looking at option 1. And then for, you see what I'm saying? Like your per site, which option is that? That's what you,
We would be looking at, in the case example you gave, option 4 would be applicable, it's set for a full scope update to let's say 15 sites would not be a full scope update.
Yes.
That cost would be removed, is what I'm
Gotcha.
saying.
You'll get like a matrix. We'll give you a
Right.
matrix of what we propose.
So, so what you're looking for is for us to give you direction, approval to do this.
Direction on what sort of proposal to develop to bring back to the board.
Okay, now,
So,
okay,
can I just ask a real quick question? What is the difference between a web-based plan versus the digital cost dashboard?
So one is, the dashboard is taking your data, your cost estimates, right? Which now are essentially in spreadsheets and then printed out in a document. And taking that and moving it to, what is an online dashboard that allows anybody to come in and interact with your cost data, run scenario models and whatnot. In the dashboard without affecting your data, so they can kind of dive into the data. That dashboard gets embedded into a website, right? So the dashboard is a tool and the website is more on the external and helps to communicate all of the plan elements. The plan, if you've ever seen it, it's a very big document, and the front end is, it talks about, your community, your district profile, it talks about your educational systems, it talks about how your facilities are supposed to enhance those educational outcomes, things like that. There's a lot of other elements to it. So the dashboard is just the data. The website would encompass all of those other elements. Now you can do one without the other. You can do the dashboard, which is the tool, and it's really helpful for your team. And then we can give that dashboard to you and you can just put it on your existing website and us not convert your plan to a full website. So that is up to you.
So just to answer President Morocco's question, so what we're asking tonight is if you're comfortable with these options, option 1 through 4, and you give us direction, we can come back and create a couple examples of a matrix of what it could look like. And we would probably divide the schools out based on the various options, based on the improvements that have already been made to those schools. And we've used Bovier as an example.
okay. Is there any further questions or discussion?
I just have one more comment about the converting to web-based plan, and I know I've heard some discussion about maybe excluding some sites versus the others, but we can't have some sites on the web and the others not.
No, we weren't talking about that for the web-based plan. When we say some sites would be redone, we're talking about the site scope plan. So this would be fundamentally the layout plan of where buildings exist on the site and what the development would be.
Sure.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
One
Yeah,
more.
down to 6.
Down.
I apologize.
Talking about that site-based plan that you might be essentially with,
So
it's
the-
the top part of the slide.
All right, thank you.
All right. Any further questions? Go ahead, trustee Marco.
I have a question here. Which of the options fulfill the requirements from the state when asking for funding? So you brought up the matching funds.
So all of them. Your first item on there is your state compliance requirements. So that is our minimum requirement. Now, your plan for the most part does, there's a couple of key elements as relates to some
It
deferred.
goes all the way across.
Correct.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, so there's some things we would need to update, but state compliance is a top priority for all of those options.
Basically, option 1.
Yeah,
Yeah.
got it. Okay.
Thank you. Any other questions? Okay, seeing none, I will entertain a motion to, direct staff to come back with a matrix
Yes.
of recommendations regarding, refreshing our long-term facilities.
And the contract, we would be bringing
And the
back your
contract.
contract. And you can change the contract at the dais if there's adjustments you feel like you would like to make.
I'll second it, and then one more discussion item according to this, so this contract that you would bring to us would have all total prices for options 1 through 4? Cause I feel like we have to be more specific, or
No, I think they'll make recommendations per site, which option per site, is that correct? Am I understanding that correctly, that there would be, so for example, we were talking about, let's say Mission Vista is a kind of a newer school, it may not need all of option 4, it might be okay with option 2 or option 3. Is that correct? Or am I misunderstanding that?
I believe there's a misunderstanding. And I believe trustee Alvarado is correct in this case. We need a general direction on which option the board is most interested in that we would refine with site-based plans.
So then okay, so Ms. Rose, you had said that we could kind of mix and match, but this was customizable.
Yes, so what we'd like to hear from you is an understanding of, for example, do you want additional community engagement? And if so, then we could refine it and say, if you only want community engagement for these particular sites, then we would refine it to that level. Do you want to convert to a web-based plan? And you could say yes or no. And if it's yes, then that encompasses all of the sites. In regards to specific sites for the updates to the scopes of work and site maps, that is where we would work with staff to develop an understanding of which are our priority sites for plan updates or site map updates. And so that would be the change. But we do need to kind of have an understanding of where you stand on, do you want the additional community engagement? Do you want a web-based plan? To what level do we want to do this update?
So essentially going through each of these options and giving direction separately. Is that what you're looking for? No? Okay, I'm completely lost
I
here.
think at this point, and again, you're not voting on anything tonight, so you're not spending any money. At this point, we would just like to know a consensus on which of the 4 options would you like us to work on?
Well, there's a motion and a second on the floor, so whether I'm thinking I should rescind the motion just because I was understanding something
Not a
that
problem.
was not taking place, so I'm rescinding the motion. I don't know if you need to, I don't think
No,
you
you
need to
don't need
rescind
to.
your second, so I think we're
Okay.
good. Okay, so now we'll go through, and so we'll just do a vote on each one of these options.
Or you may want to just have a quick discussion about kind of, before you do a vote, which option consensus wise you guys feel like you're leaning toward. We
Okay.
can do some extra work. on
Well, how about if we go through the options? I think that's these, okay, give me a thumbs up if you think the additional community engagement is something that we'd like to have. So we got 1, okay, okay. Give me a thumbs up if you want to convert to a web-based plan, you think that that's something that we would want. So we have 1, okay. Give me a thumbs up if you think updates to scope of work and site maps is something. So that's unanimous.
It's very successful.
Yeah, so that's option 3. Give me a thumbs up if you think the building system life cycle update is something that would be good.
That's included already.
That's already
Once
in there.
we do
I think we
updates to
got it.
scope site maps, that's,
Okay.
that's a menu that comes
All right.
with it. It's like a
Okay.
hack.
You have the consensus we
Okay.
require
So
Yeah.
to move
should
forward.
we do a motion? I think we should do a motion. Okay, so I will move that we direct staff to explore option 3.
Second.
Okay, and come back, well, let me finish. Okay, option 3, and also come back with recommendations of which sites would be included.
We'll
in
do
that.
that.
Okay,
We can do
now
that.
you may renew your second.
Second.
Okay, thank you. So it's motion moved by trustee Morocco, seconded by trustee Alvarado. Any further discussion? No? No.
Okay, so the reason I like the idea of community engagement and web-based program is that we're communicating with the public and, you know, as we move forward towards a bond, that would be something that interested parties could go and look at, and it'd be a much more welcoming, engaging, give people something, you know, an idea of, as opposed to like going through, no offense, the Vista Unified website and finding the dashboard that I assuming is gonna be an Excel file or something like.
It's a Looker Studio, it's an online,
Okay,
yeah.
and it's gonna be a lot less welcoming, you know, of people saying, oh, what's going on at Rancho, you know, Rancho Mineral, New Vida, you know, and it's gonna be hard to find. I just, for me, like that, this was the, you know, if we're moving this direction, that the attraction to this community engagement is, to me, like potentially worthwhile to look at. That's all, that's all I'm thinking.
No, so I wanna, my understanding, can we add that on if there's a specific site that we are looking at for bond?
Not a specific site. You do it for the whole plan, or you don't do it.
Okay.
That for the web base, you can't say, So let me give an example. If you were to say, we will only have for one school site, a site plan online, you then have changed the dynamic of your communication structures with the rest of the community,
Okay.
right?
Okay,
So it's
so I
the
think,
whole plan.
I think what I want to clarify for trustee Markov is that if we do go for a bond, we will definitely, part of the process is community engagement about the bond and about the sites and to find out, you know, these things. So I understand, and I thank you for sharing that. That was, you know, very insightful about, and it's a good point. And I don't want to invalidate the point, but for me, I look at the cost increase. And is it worth the additional cost? I mean, we're looking at almost double between the cost between options 3 and option 4. And I think that because we would be doing the community outreach with as part of the bond process on those sites, that it would take place there. So I don't know if that puts your mind at ease
Yeah,
or I don't know.
that's
Okay.
fine.
All right, thank you. Okay, any further questions or comments? Seeing trustee Morano?
The engagement will also come through the school site council, through our employee groups. The engagement will come from schools that have a community school steering committee, advisory council. So that's ways that we can collect that quantitative data or qualitative data, qualitative, yeah.
Yeah, in addition to the updates, coach to work, like, you know, trustee Martin, you know, as a teacher around Chipona Vista, she could tell us, you know, what are some areas that are concerned, but I'm like, once you do site visits, you could all see the cracks on the walls.
Pretty
It
obvious.
was very insightful visiting, the old Vita.
Yes, it is.
Looking at the back rooms and like,
Yes, it
oh
is.
my goodness, those rooms are ancient.
Yes.
Thank you, all very good points. Thank you so much for sharing. Okay, any further questions or comments? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Thank you.
Any abstentions? Okay, motion carries unanimously. Chris, did you get that motion? Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, so, yes, why don't we take a quick break? Let's do, all right, we'll reconvene at 8:03. Thank you.
Okay, we are gonna resume our meeting. Next on the agenda is item 8.3, 8E, sorry. And we have several hold cards because we have 10 hold cards. I'm going to limit, I'm gonna limit public comment to 2 minutes per hold card. And so if we could start with, and I apologize if I get your name wrong, Joe. Oh, Hood.
Thank you. Good evening, trustees. Good evening, superintendent and everyone here. It's critical that students are educated on the state of our environment. Did you know that in San Diego County, we have exceeded 7 of the 9 safe planetary boundaries? I was graciously invited to lead some climate discussions in several classrooms during the past school year, from grade 5 through high school. Several students came up to me and volunteered to join our climate campaigns. Fantastic. Vista students, I argue, are hungry for more climate education. The safe level of CO2 emissions in the atmosphere is 350 parts per million. Right now, in this room, it's 499. By the way, we had 500 or so in the advanced biology class that I attended. What's that mean? Please expand the ecology curriculum and continue to open the door for students to understand the future they will soon inherit. We're obliged to prepare them. Under Rick McGurty's internship program, we added a Vista High School student to the executive committee of the North County group of the Sierra Club. She's a wonderful addition to our meetings, has arranged in-school meetings, made public presentations, is writing articles for the High Sierra magazine. She'll soon be making a presentation to Fallbrook's climate action team. Please help Rick find more environmentally focused students. We want to put them to opportunities for education. Dr. Loescher has provided exemplary leadership to the CAP effort over the past several years.
Thank you, Mr. Hood.
Oh, all done? No?
Yeah, you can email your comments to us.
Yeah, okay. Punchline, please vote for the electrification reservation resolution.
Thank you. Okay, Madeline Adams.
Hello, good evening to all. My name is Madeline Adams and I am a student at Mission Vista High School. I am a Vista Climate Action Committee student representative, and I am proud to have been part of our district's climate adoptions, as well as my roles as the president and founder of my school's environmental club, youth engagement chair in the North County Sierra Club, executive board, and other roles as well. I've personally experienced the air pollution that comes from the rampant wildfires in our region, as well as the use of fossil fuel machinery. By electrifying our school district, we are ensuring the health of us as students, as well as the environment that we so depend on. My love for the earth started young, and I am prepared to continue fighting for our future with all that I can. And I hope that you, as the board that ensures the health and safety of USD students, can agree that this resolution is necessary and vital. The huge potential to reduce our greenhouse gas emissions, the purification of our air, and the great long-term financial investment of electrification all elucidates that the obvious course of action is for the board, for you to vote yes on this resolution. Thank you.
Julia Chambers.
Good evening, superintendent and board members. My name is Julia Chambers and I'm a student at Mission Vista High School and also the first ever youth board member at the United Nations Association San Diego, where we work to promote sustainable practices both within the UN and throughout San Diego County. I want to thank you for your existing efforts to transition Vista Unified to clean energy and for electrifying the majority of our school buses. I take great pride in attending a school district that is committed to climate responsibility and sustainability. This resolution is the next step towards creating a healthier fossil fuel free district. As students, we spend over 1,000 hours per year in school. And burning fossil fuels in and around our campuses increases the risk of asthma and other health issues, while also negatively impacting cognitive function. And this is in a place where we spend so much amount of time in our lives. So Vista Unified has a responsibility to mitigate these harms as much as possible, and that starts with this electrification resolution. Our school district is leading by example and can continue to do so by fully committing to electrification to bring clean air and reduce pollution to our campuses. So thank you, and I respectfully ask for your yes vote on the electrification solution.
Thank you. Alyssa Hernandez, please.
Good evening, board. My name is Alyssa Hernandez, and I am a student at Mission Vista High School. I'm also an active member in our school's Youth Climate Action Group, and I make great efforts to adopt sustainable practices in my home life. I want to start off by applauding the board's already existing efforts in creating a more sustainable district, and I believe the electrification resolution is the next best step in ensuring the safety of us as students in our homes. California schools already emit over 1.6 million tons in pollution, and the district's excessive use of fossil fuels will contribute to this number, as well as cause damage to our environment. The worsening air quality from these emissions will also exacerbate us students' struggles with health and our ability to focus in class. By electrifying our schools and other establishments, Vista Unified creates an environment that prioritizes student safety, our future, and the conservation of our planet. With immense love for these schools and the communities, I encourage you to vote yes in support of the electrification resolution. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. William Leslie, please.
Thank you for having us here. I am a philosophy professor at Palomar College for 35 years, and I want to thank Vista Unified School District for sending so many well-prepared, excellent students to my class. I'm also a volunteer with 350.org, and I can remember, thank you for bringing up the number 350, because I can remember back in 1971 when I was a physics student at Cal State Long Beach, and the professor in my physical chemistry class introduced the idea of the greenhouse effect. First time I had heard of it, he said, well, it's what keeps the temperature nice outside. It would be freezing without carbon dioxide and methane and other greenhouse gases. But scientists are worried that we are, by burning fossil fuels, raising the level of greenhouse gases, and it could get warmer and warmer, and we could end up with a runaway greenhouse world, which we would all want to avoid. Now, at first I thought, well, I'm a beachy guy, I like to surf, warmer summer, warmer winters and longer summers sounded like a good idea, but I know that now it's not such a good idea. I love the motto, think globally, act locally. And we're all a part of the problem, let's admit that. And that means we all have to be a part of the solution. So I am strongly recommending that we pass the Vista Unified Electrification Project. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Sawyer Patton.
Hello, and thank you very much for having me here today. My name is Sawyer Patton, and I'm an intern at the Coastal Environmental Rights Foundation. I'm also proudly come from a family of educators and school administrators. I know all that you guys do. I first off want to thank you for being here. I said that already, but also for Vista Unified's representation of environmental changes already, specifically the 100% clean commitments and the electrification electrification plan for the majority of the bus fleet. SURF is committed to the aid and enforcement of environmental laws, raising public awareness about coastal environmental issues, and encouraging environmental and political activism, and generally acting to defend natural resources in coastal areas. With this intention in mind, I encourage you to vote yes on the electrification resolution to create healthier and more prosperous campuses for all students and faculty. Thank you again for your time.
Thank you. Janice Jones, please.
Hello, good evening.
My name's Janice Jones, and I'm a 30-plus year resident of Vista. I currently serve on the city's Environmental Commission, and I am a community member on the Climate Action Committee for the school district here. I echo the comments shared by previous speakers, especially the students who could say it any better than they can. But I do also want to express my appreciation for the things that this school district and school board and under your leadership has already accomplished with the prioritizing the education of the students around sustainability and caring for the environment and climate and opting up to 100% renewable energy. These are actions that are truly commendable. I'm actually a retired educator, Oceanside Unified School District. I've always appreciated everything done here. I've toured the schools as an educator and looking for innovative ideas to bring back to Oceanside. And I think on this, Vista can also be a leader. And I'm hoping that neighboring school districts will follow your lead on this. I'll go talk to my friends at OUSD if I need to. And just thank you, and please vote in favor of the electrification resolution. Thank you.
Thank you. Karina Contreras.
I gotta push this to talk.
No,
No, all right.
No, we
fixed it.
we automated it for you.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much, Board President, Vice President, Board Member, Superintendent. My name is Karina Contreras. I'm here in my capacity as a policy advocate for Climate Action Campaign. And we're on a mission to ensure that we can create a pollution-free future where everyone can thrive. And when we look at our students, we look at staff, we look at folks that visit our campuses or facilities, we want to ensure that that is a safe place, not only from all the other things that you guys discuss, but from the environment as well, right? Clean air is essential. We want to acknowledge, though, that the district is really ahead. We want to acknowledge all the work that you've done. It's incredible. And we want to thank Dr. Loescher, Superintendent, all the board for the work that you do. You know, schools as community hubs should be healthy spaces that are free from dangerous gas pollution. Electrification is the answer because it brings efficiency, clean air, and we can ensure too, when budgets are tight, that you don't have to spend additional money. You have great solar panels out here. You've taken so many steps. So what we ask is that we listen to the kids, we listen to the students, we listen to the faculty, and we do what's right. You've already done so much. This is a teachable moment for students on what real world problem solving looks like, especially when we're faced with insurmountable challenges like poor air quality, extreme heat, and the many challenges our communities face, some of which you discussed today. We have solutions, and we urge you to move forward with this resolution so we can electrify Vista and we can move forward together and have that amazing future. Thank you.
Thank you. Vanessa, is it Forsyth?
Yes.
Thank you, President Morocco and school board members, as well as superintendent. My name is Vanessa Forsyth. I'm a retired school nurse, and I have been working with the Climate Action Committee to get these types of resolutions passed in other school districts. As the students indicated, it is really important for them in terms of their health. As a school nurse, one of the reasons frequently students came to my health office, maybe not always directly, but related to anxiety. And one of the things that students are anxious about is their future, as we are now dealing with climate change impacting us in so many ways. So I applaud what the district has already done in terms of electrification, regarding school buses and bringing the solar and 100% for the CEA. These are things that matter. and maybe indirectly affect students, but they do directly in terms of their concerns, and we need to hear those concerns. So again, I ask your support for this electrification resolution. Thank you.
Thank you. And finally, Linda Daniels.
You're good.
Good, okay, thank you. Good evening, trustees. Good evening, superintendents. It's wonderful to be here. I usually talk at city council meetings and at the Carlsbad Unified School District, but I'm here representing both the Sierra Club and the San Diego Building Electrification Coalition, of which I'm on their strategy committee, schools committee. Okay, so we worked very hard to get San Diego unified in, then we worked very hard to get Carlsbad have a resolution, and they have one now. So now we're ready for Vista to have one as well. When I retired in 2010, I said, okay, what am I gonna do in my retirement? Because I'm a busy bee, okay? And I want to save the planet. So the thing I'm doing is I electrified my entire home. I have a heat pump water heater, I have a heat pump HVAC system, I have a induction stove, oven, and an electric fireplace is coming soon, okay? But they've taken away everything. I don't even have a meter anymore at my house because I believe that buildings are presenting the most greenhouse gases for us, okay? So buildings have to be addressed. So my building, my single family home is now electrified. You're being a leader. You guys, the first ones that immediately when you join the CEA, because I'm a member of the CEA, I as elected to their Community Advisory Council. And I represent the city of Carlsbad, of course, not just, I'm sorry, I live in Carlsbad. But what I want to do is really tell you how great it is to see what you all have done with your buses and going to Green Impact. Okay, opting up to that, that's absolutely wonderful. Means you're getting only clean energy, which is great for the kids. The kids are all we care about, and we want them to be able to breathe. We want them to have a green curriculum, so they know jobs in the future they can work with making solar panels or windmills. I just saw a windmill that was made in France, no propellers on it. So they just vibrate and they make electricity that way. So we can get them into fields like that, and that's what I want, okay? Thank you. Please pass the resolution tonight.
Thank you. And thank you everyone for speaking, and we will continue on with the item 8E. Dr. Loescher again. This is the Dr. Loescher Show.
Board President Bronco, Vice President Martin, and members of the Board of Trustees, thank you very much. Before I open up this evening, I have a critical community partner not with us. She's fallen ill. But over the last 2 years, Serena Pelka has worked intensely with us to bring this forward. And I was saddened that earlier today I got a call from her letting me know that she has fallen ill. She can't be here, but I believe she's being live streamed right back here. So she's gonna be fine. It's all good. We promised we'd find a solution. When we talk about the Climate Action Committee and the actions taken over the last several years, we should be incredibly proud of how far we have come. Regardless of how far we have to go, we've taken immense steps. You are sitting right now in a school district that is completely run on green energy. That was not the case 3 years ago. And we do so, and we are economically responsible when we do so. We are spending less. We are environmentally sound in doing so. And we were able to make all those things work. So why an electrification resolution becomes the case, and Trustee Alvarado asked this a few meetings ago, we have various things on the books for climate action. Why would we do this particular one is a great question, and the answer is it puts some timelines and it puts some specificity around this to allow for us to go back and make recommendations to administrative regulations and other items. We currently are on LED lights. We have one of the highest permutations of EVs in the fleet, not just the school buses. We've got lightning trucks coming in. We are doing things very differently. But we need, in order to do things in a committed fashion, to start to look at what are the policies so we can sustain it beyond today. Sustainability for sustainability. So that is the purpose of the resolution. Resolution set broad base goals, audacious goals for us to reach, then we will come back to you with modifications to policy and other matters. We did bring this forward as a draft. I believe trustee Morocco, trustee Vargas would be able to speak to their work with the Climate Action Committee. But I believe the resolution stands that it is, and I'm only here to answer questions this evening, ma'am.
Thank you, Dr. Mosher. Are there any questions?
Got questions.
Certainly, trustee Marco.
So, first of all, I also appreciate all the work that Vista Unified has accomplished in terms of green energy and, electrification of the vehicles and so on. I had a question about, Bobier.
Yes.
And Bobier specifically is a green campus, as I understand, it's completely energy. Is that correct?
So there is no total green campus. It is a campus that is deemed and is designed to be what we call 90% off the grid. Meaning it is only receiving 10% of its power from off-site. Correct.
Okay. Would there be any change to its design if this resolution had been in place, say, 5 years ago?
To its current design, no, Bobier was designed as a model for designing schools that would be electrified.
Okay, so we're already basically doing what the resolution says. Is that, no? No, okay.
No, because this resolution calls for career technical education for our students. It calls for when our appliances are out of date, replacing them with electricity at our old campuses, so the nutrition program. Phasing out our vehicles as when they come to their end of life with electric vehicles versus that. And then since we did pass a resolution in 2019, July of 2019, and at that point, we had very little infrastructure.
Correct.
In there to support like recharging. So you could think of the school as an individual entity, and new construction has to comply with the state of California with certain codes. But no, if we didn't pass this, we wouldn't necessarily change our vehicles or get rid of our weed whackers and our gas.
Yeah.
Maybe we already did that, but things like that, so it's not the same.
If I could comment, I think trustee Markov, I think you're correct. This board has been committed to the electrification of this district.
Yeah.
So we have been doing this. What the resolution does is it makes a commitment for future boards to continue what we have already put into place. And so trustee Alvarado is correct. There's a lot of stuff in there also that we haven't formally committed to. This is a formal ratification of what we've already been doing. That's really the way I look at it. It's basically a declaring, think of it, if you think of it like we're getting engaged or we're getting married to our boyfriend or girlfriend, you know what I mean? Like a partner. So something like that, like you were just making it formal that we're doing this.
To be specific as to your question, sir, you asked about this resolution.
Yeah.
No, it wouldn't have changed it, but that 2019 resolution did change the design for Bobier.
Okay.
And this would change for future things, correct? So I want to answer you specifically to be respectful.
Sure.
This resolution, no, would not change Bobier as it exists. But that 2019 resolution set that in place. The difference is it sets up some other additional things, including curriculum and some timelines to help support.
Okay, first of all, I think that, maybe this is turning into discussion, I apologize, but this.
It's fine, no.
It is part of it, is questions for me too.
Sure.
And then I specifically have a question about the last to-do item. And it reads, work with both internal and external labor partners to ensure that electrification work is done by union, state certified general electricians with access to living wages, full health and retirement benefits, and representation, ensuring respect and dignity on the job. How is that? How is that going to be?
Sure. So currently we have items in place. So let's talk about internal labor partners. First of all, we have partnership with CSEA. And what we would be committing to is, as we do these things, we do need to make sure that our electricians, as we move forward, have different levels of certification to work on these things. We also have to look at how they interact. For those that we won't go into depth, if you look at an electric bus holds enough electricity to power a school for days. That's how much electricity is involved. So we need a different level of certification as we move forward. As we move from a phase, just like, let's put it another way, we're going to have to do the same for our mechanics. As you move from having a brand new EV vehicle to one that's going to need maintenance after it's out of a warranty cycle, people are going to have to maintain these things. So for internal partners, we would be saying, we're committed to ensuring that they have all the things they need and the supports they need with a corresponding wage. For external partners, we do have new requirements that are coming out all of the time. So we're talking about having people that are in fact paid according to the state wage council, which we do primarily right now anyways, for all available projects to ensure we meet all future electrical requirements for any upgrades. It's about doing the work correctly the first time. That's what that one specifically pertains to.
And for external partners, is that, I mean, where does the, like, for instance, Department of Industrial Relations come in? Is that part of this
So
equation?
the Department of Industrial Relations, how do I put this politely? I don't think they're anybody's external partner. They are a statewide organization that look at how we go about pay. We are, as a public entity, obliged to pay, right, a prevailing wage and which is a livable wage. We're required to do all of those items. When we talk about external partners, it's about what contractors we're working with to ensure that our contractors have the appropriate credentials in place and certifications in place for the work being done, that we do diligence on this. An example of how we might accomplish this, I can show from example, how we do this right now on various LL projects. We have a company that does an external audit and make sure that every worker on site, whether they are an apprentice, that they have all of the support they need to make sure the work is done correctly. It's a commitment to that sort of oversight, because as you move to electrification, you need to make sure the work is done correctly the first time, which is the safest, best way to get it done. It's also the most cost-effective way over the long term.
Okay. That's my questions.
Okay, all right. Any further discussion or questions?
Yeah, first of all, thank you to our public speakers for coming out tonight. With the, a couple of things on the resolution itself. One of the bullet points talks about 2035 as a way to look at our bus fleets and the infrastructure. I believe from the previous resolution that day was 2030 for our bus fleet, but we also made great progress when it comes to electrical buses. So can you give us a status update on that?
Sure, I can first of all share with you advanced knowledge of what you would receive tomorrow in a Friday letter. We received 4 more bus grants today. So each day we continue to make progress. Over 50% of our fleet is electrified at this juncture. There is a part of this that this resolution gives us some flexibility on, and that pertains to that date. Here's a challenge we face in terms of electrification of the yellow fleet. The EV yellow fleet is also the emergency fleet for emergency evacuation. Right now, electric buses have a mileage limit of about 100 range, about 100 miles. So we do need to maintain some diesel or gasoline fleet in case of emergencies, because we are the emergency transportation support provider for the region. We believe this date allows us enough time for the technology to catch up with that in this case. But we can give you a precise breakdown on the Friday letter of all of the yellow fleets that are now EVs. By the way, you're not going to see them out here. They're parked at a different location right now because we're redoing all the asphalt here. We didn't lose them. They're just at a different location. But also we can give you an update as to the white fleet updates, because that's in the process of being updated as well, and give you the exact numbers of each.
Yeah, and I know, being part of the Johnson School Board Association, part of the challenges in the rural districts and, long-term traveling.
100%.
Uphills, downhills, we're fortunate to be in a better spot. But I know that we also have, some rats that travel across Southern California. And so with the metrics, you're saying that we're trying to get to the technology by 2035 and hope that, that remedies that bullet point right there.
We believe that, so our buses are on lithium iron technology, and forgive me, I'm learning more about this than I ever wanted to learn about a bus, but Tracy Mangold is taking me to school every day on this. the electric car that Rena and I drive are lithium ion batteries. Lithium iron is the next level up. They believe solid state batteries will be next, and energy efficiency will change over time that we believe will dramatically change the range of these buses. Let me give you a quick comparison. If you took a car back to 1920, it would get about 4 miles a gallon. Right now, we make cars that go 55, 60 miles on a gallon. So the energy efficiency catches up over time. So we believe that the range will change. Our buses are on what are called ISO, International Society of Organization standards, which means we can unplug things, have it replaced with new things and change out the motor. So that's why we believe the technology will catch up on that.
Perfect. So let me explain it a different way. So for us, our goal is to go electric in all of our buses with a few exceptions. So we have 2 or 3 or 4 buses that were diesel until we get buses that have a range larger than 300 or 400 miles.
And that's, if I can comment, because I don't think you were at that climate action meeting, Cipriano, that we have certain teams that need to be we bus them to, other parts of the state, very many miles away. And you can't take teenagers and charge a bus for like an hour or two after every 200 miles, that you're talking chaos. So we do need to sort of keep, unfortunately, until technology catches up, we must keep at least 1 or 2 of these vehicles available for these long trips that our students need to go on.
Perfect. Going on to career technology education, this will probably happen at the high school. Can you talk to me about, what we're thinking about and, with, ideally, like I feel like to start off, or at least look at Vista High School. And then we just got a, beautiful building at Rancho Vista, and there's a lot of pathways there. Vista High has an outdated auto shop, so I'm thinking, electrification as it relates to vehicles, or, with that's gonna be a good job in the future.
Yeah, I can tell you that they've already started. We've already met with the general manager of Ford. And but we have a partnership with them with our new auto shop teacher, by the way, with our graduate teacher. And he's gonna do a great job. He formerly worked at Ford, and they're actually gonna introduce a whole section on learning to work on EVs.
Got it. And that, my last point on this resolution, definitely would like to urge the NECA, the National Electrical Institute, and IBW to look at a workforce up in North County as far as it relates to training. I think part of the challenge has always been distance and, getting some of our students that don't have a vehicle, or rely on public transportation. So actually, a call out to climate action campaign, help us, build an infrastructure that works for our entire region. I know that's a long-term plan, but if we can get something up here in North County, I think, we can produce more jobs for our students and for our workforce.
And just a quick shout out to this Unified that most people don't know, that's connected to what we're doing with this climate action. We are actually the only school district in North County that has apprentice readiness program. We literally have a cohort happening right now as we speak. And the person who's leading that from the Building Trades Association is an electrician.
Great, thank you. Trustee Alvarado?
So I'm just so happy that we've made so much progress since 2019. This was, the first resolution was resolution 20-02, and it was passed July 19, 2019. And, this is really important for our kids in our community, because we know that when kids live in a pocket or a neighborhood where we have high traffic areas, we have kids with a lot of respiratory problems and asthma. And although we can't mitigate the traffic coming through, our circle of control is our campus. So when we remove, those older cars or our landscaping tools and clean that air for them, we're giving them a better quality of life. So I'm really proud of that. I'm proud of giving our kids, hopefully, these options in CTE to work in this field. I'm proud of the student representation, that your voice is so important and you guys are leading it. I'm proud of our district because we always center y'all's voice first. And if you guys can't come to us, we come to you, to your school site, and we have the meetings there. There's more work to be done though. And so I will be voting to support us passing this resolution, and not only because it's the best thing for our kids, it's justice, it's for climate, it's also aligning us in a place and space where we can be proactive and get these grants that we've gotten over the course of the year. Because if we're sitting on the sidelines, you know, eating our popcorn, watching the other districts, you know, we're not gonna have these opportunities. And so I applaud the boards that have come before us, who have laid the foundation, and I hope to still continue the innovation in this area, and I will be voting to support this.
Thank you. Any further questions or comments?
Just one more question. Is as far as and I'm kind of hung up on that last one, is the external legal partners, is there any addition, like changes to what, you know, the procedure or processes that are in place right now? Or is this just saying we're gonna keep doing what we're doing and?
No, this would actually put in place a change in procedure that outside of the larger LL projects, we would be asking for verification of certifications of the electricians involved. Right now, they go through a different process where they broadly certify and individually bid, but do not necessarily tell us the specific electricians that would be involved. And sometimes when you go back and audit, you find necessarily you didn't get who you thought. So this would involve a procedural change for us during the process of contracting, where we would guarantee that the correct certifications were held to do this level of work.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I have a couple things. Trustee Markov, I understand your concern with the last one. A couple things I want to point out is that, when we hire skilled labor to do our projects, and especially when they're union state certified contractors, we are guaranteed that they are certified, that they have been properly trained in this skill, okay, that they are trained. With excluding that, you don't, as Dr. Loesch just said, you don't always know that you're getting somebody who's actually, you know, trained, although that doesn't mean that you don't, okay? But more importantly is when you are outsourcing and you're hiring an external partner on these things, you don't really know who owns that company and what their values are. And if they can threaten the job of one of their employees who's doing the work to cut a corner so that it shortens the life of a project that we're spending public dollars on, that is kind of a waste of taxpayer dollars. And, you know, because you're not getting what you're paying for. The shop may want to make more money, more profit for themselves. And so they cut corners, they instruct and it could be very skilled personnel that they're instructing, but they tell them, you do it my way, or I'll get someone else who will. As opposed to when you have a skilled union that's protected by the collective bargaining process, they can't be threatened, their job is protected, they are skilled, they are proud of the work that they do, and they take care in that, so you know you're getting what you pay for. And even if it costs a little bit more upfront to do that, it ends up paying off in the long run, because to repair a job that was not done correctly with tomorrow's dollars costs more than doing the job correctly with today's dollars. And that's really what we're getting. So I get where that could be a little bit of a sticking point with you, but I personally think that that's one of the strengths of this resolution, is that we have that. It's also, this resolution does have enough flexibility, as we talked about, you know, having the buses that we might need to keep if technology does not meet our needs when we need it. So that's one of the great things about this resolution too, is that there's flexibility. So I fully support this resolution. I'm so proud of our district for doing this. And the work that we've done, and I'm excited for what we are going to do in the future. So thank you. Did you want to say something?
I do. I just had a question, because you brought up union. And my question is that a requirement for this? I didn't read it as that. I mean, I initially did, and that's why I was asking for clarification. External partners, is that like union shops only?
No, it means we seek them out as the only means that has a guaranteed state certified process. We should also be clear, as with any item resolution regarding anything, if there is an emergency, there are emergency declarations brought forward, you get whatever workers are available to work on things in the case of an emergency. This is not applicable to emergency conditions, so you would go and first seek out that as an option. If workers are not available, then you have to move on with the work into a different things. We do this on existing projects right now, where, for example, where we have an agreement for unionized labor, for example, on a Bobier, we give first right priority because that certification process is already in place. But it doesn't mean there's always availability. It means then the contractors have to go back for a subsequent look for who is available. How will they guarantee their certifications? What will they do? All of that work isn't front loaded because those organizations are the only ones that have the guarantee that meets all of the state requirements. So that's what it does. It doesn't block you in. It means that's where you start.
And then to the point that President Rocco was bringing up about repair work, we have building site inspections, right? And they come out and they measure like where a junction box is compared to a light switch, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, they come out and look at that stuff, right?
So we do our own, and we have county people that come and do building site inspections, but that's no guarantee for where it actually is. Most of the electrical is in walls and other things. What we have found, and one of the reasons why the long range facility master plan became of critical importance in a discussion about how we were going to do things, is that not all of our as-built are as-built. They're not that way.
Not accurate.
So one of the other reasons you want somebody who's a certified electrician to go in and do that is they know the various techniques and why you go about identifying those things in those ways for making sure the repairs are done, everything's up to current codes, and that there's a stamp out process that everything meets code.
And Dr. Lusher, on, for example, the Bobier project, doesn't that project also have an additional inspector that is required by the PLA agreement?
So we have two different topics on hand to clarify. Mr. Markov asked if our existing buildings have random inspections, and the answer is no, there is not an external party. We go and look at them. For new building projects, we have a third-party inspector that was my question. Yeah, state certified third-party inspectors who then recertify on top of it. So they have to go and look at the work that various people do, and they are a third-party independent. So that way, it's not the district's claim or the architect's claim or the contractor's claim. There's a state representative claim as a third party that says they verified everything.
And that's with the PLA agreement, that's the requirement of the.
No, man, that's a requirement of DSA for all Division of State Architect projects is the inspector.
Right, but isn't there an additional inspector with the PLA that is on site to make sure that everything's followed correctly?
Not as an inspector for inspector of record for buildings. We have a third party person that audits books, checks certifications, checks requirements. So that way it can't be a claim of individuals involved in this to make sure that it's done correctly. That's correct. It's a third party auditor.
Thank you.
Can I ask, what would be like considered a difference in bid process, you know, like in cost, if you have, like, say, you cast as wide of net as possible. So, you know, keeping state certified electricians, you know, the certifications that are required for the work. But say they belong to a non-union shop, like, would you entertain a bid for that?
Okay. So I would refer back to the board president, whether we wanted to bring this back for a broader discussion on that topic. What I can share is in a previous board presentation on projects done in our district, we found no cost differential. What we found was that you needed to do adequate outreach and advertising, but we didn't find a cost differential in our internal analysis. That was done on 4 specific district projects under Measure L.
Thank you. Any further questions or comments? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve item 8E.
I move to approve 8E.
Moved by trustee Alvarado, is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by trustee Martin. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? A motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Okay, moving on, item 8F. If there's, any questions or comments about item 8F, which is a piggyback?
Item 8F and 8G are for Apple and Dell computers, part of an annual piggyback process for approved devices in budget already approved by the board.
Is there any questions or comments? Seeing none, I will entertain a motion to approve item 8F.
I move to approve item 8F.
And is there a second?
Second.
Second, moved by trustee Alvarado, seconded by trustee Martin. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. Item 8G is another piggyback. Is there any questions or comments? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve item 8G.
I move to approve 8G.
Moved by trustee Alvarado. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by trustee Markov. All those in favor say, any further discussion? I'm sorry. Okay, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. Now we're moving on to the consent calendar. Does anyone want to pull anything from the consent calendar?
Yes, I do.
Okay, item
25, 29, 30, 31. They'll be available.
25, 29, 30, and 31.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
I'm sorry,
Which
from which item specifically? I apologize.
14A,
14A, thank you.
line item, 25, 29, 30, and 31.
Okay, so item 14A is the only one. Item 14A is the only one that you're pulling?
Item 14.1, 14A with four lines.
Right, no, but the only item for the consent is item 14A. Okay, anyone else have anything they want to pull? Okay, seeing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent calendar minus item 14A.
So moved.
Okay, moved by
Second.
moved by trustee Markov, seconded by trustee Alvarado. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries unanimously. Okay, 14A. So, go ahead, trustee Martin.
So this is under ratify and approve contracts. Line item 25, elevation. And I may be in error with this. Elevation was the program prior to the GLAD.
What I'm gonna do is hand it over to Eric to answer specific questions on EE and I. What I would like to bring to the attention of the board based upon your feedback, there's a new column on this document. All the way on the right, it says either A or R. A is you're approving it. R is it was already signed and ratified. So you know which of the items is for approval or ratification based upon your feedback. So we'll turn it over to Dr. Shigelia, so that way he can comment on each of these with Dr. Law.
Hello.
Hi, Joe may start because I think I know what you're gonna say. Fantastic. So we have GLAD and we have elevation. And elevation is the tool where we do progress monitoring for our English language students. And there are also those strategies that seem like a lot of secondary level class strategies as well. We need elevation. We need it because we have to track the progress of the students and how they're doing towards reclassification. It has great strategies in there as well.
Okay, circling back.
Yep.
And yet we spent a ton of money on GLAD. Even though we're not going to get rid of elevation because it has the components that we need for tracking. Can the ARIES system be used for that same tracking and finally get out from underneath the contract for elevation?
We will find that out.
I would appreciate that.
Yep.
Thank you.
I'm writing that down. Thank you.
Next, item 29.
29, 30, and 31 all go together. This is the Novak education. And so my question is, with regard to on-site, professional development. These, and then there's also an amended there's an amended contract, so we're already using them. Why are we not using in-source or professional development? Our district employees, particularly on item 28 for $23,000 for MTSS support, literacy models, UDL. We have all that. Why are we outsourcing this, please?
So the school has decided with their site budget that they're allocated, that they need further expertise and coaching in those areas. And you'll see that all those schools are very high need schools. So they're continuing with the previous district efforts towards MTSS and UDL. So at the heart of UDL is universal design for learning. And so making sure all the needs of the students are being met at those high priority schools.
So they're choosing to use the allocated site funds for that.
It's
Correct.
It's in their site plan.
Their
So
SPSAs.
They actually meet and put it in.
Okay.
It's not
And
just-
actually,
not
they're
just-
community schools, so this is something that their advisory council
Mhm.
voted on
Yeah.
to do, because that's the cohort money.
Yeah.
So that is shared leadership and shared decision-making. And one of the pillars of community schools is continuous improvement. So this is what their committee wanted. And it's what that special funding that we got from the state for community schools.
It is a funding requirement that when the committee votes that we execute. So it is the
Or there's the
requirement for
plan.
the receiving the fund.
Yeah.
That absolutely 200% answers my question.
Thank you. Okay, so, any other questions, women? Okay, I will entertain a motion to approve item 14A.
So moved.
Moved by trustee Martin. Is there a second?
Second,
Seconded by trustee Alvarado. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye.
aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Moving on, let me get back to my agenda. I believe we are going to presentations. So we're on item 17A. And again, we're back to the Dr. Loescher show.
I promise I get a break here. We will be rather brief with this, but we saw an action this evening on this item for the Climate Action Committee. We are obligated per board policy to give you a quick report. To open with, I do want to thank trustee Morocco, trustee Vargas for being part of this committee and active members and coming to all the meetings this year. We've seen tremendous progress over the last few years. We just want to give you the annual update for the board policy on this. So here we have, and I'm not going to read it to you, the committee purpose, the authority, the establishment of the committee here on slide 2. In terms of creating goals, the group created a broad base of goals. What I've encouraged committees to do is create broad goals with actionable items over the course of years so we can make progress, not to just leave a broad goal and not have an action item associated it, but to narrow our scope for things we can do to progress the district. You took one of those actions tonight, as you will see. So the 3 areas are immediate action, area 1, area 2, district plan and alignment, area 3, student engagement curriculum. On the screen are meeting dates for the year. We do meet regularly, Brown Act postings, all of the workshop formats that are there. On slide 4, we gave you the listing available on our website. These are the adults on the committee. Why do we list them a little different than the next slide? When you look at the next slide, these are the student members of the committee. We don't include their full names, so they're on the side there. But you heard from some of them this evening. They're active members. One of the goals that the board had is increase student engagement. We have regular student engagement. Our largest student meeting actually was not this last year, it was the year before at RBV. I had like 85, 90 students.
Crazy.
Yeah, there's a picture of me surrounded by students. I felt at home again, back in the classroom. So RBV hosted me for that. When we look at each of sort of the committee topics this year around the goals, we had presentations from all sorts of people, the City of Vista, project professionals, CORE, Clean Energy Alliance, all of these were there. And we wanted just to acknowledge them by listing them here and thank them for their time and contribution. So what were the contributions this year? What were these achievements that were made in these 3 areas? And then what do we think are the next steps that have been discussed? Well, for immediate action, we joined the Clean Energy Alliance this year in full. We are 100% on clean energy right now. We have a power purchasing agreement in place that has kept our energy costs in check. We have all of that in place. We did incentivize student participation. We have internships in place, all sorts of things happening. The first round of electrification of the white fleet this year was a huge step. in terms of doing things. And no, it did not cost us more money. We were able to do all sorts of things to get that done. In terms of 2025, 25, 26, recommended next steps, you just took the first one. The recommendation that was the prime core recommendation on this item was the electrification resolution. The expansion conversion of White Fleet is something that happened. We had 3 more White Fleet vehicles added today per our plans. They will be for transportation of special education students. I know we talk about pollution in terms of greenhouse gases. There's another kind of pollution that we talk about when we're dealing with students in teaching and learning. It's noise pollution. For special education students, oftentimes very sensitive, my daughter and my family members are some of these vehicles are ideal for transportation. They feel comforted in them. So we're seeing that. Also, the expanded conversion, and we're seeing this almost coming to a T, and we hope this is the year, where almost all of our single stroke engines and other items from the grounds team is out. There was a long-standing bitter feud between Dr. Doyle, myself, and the head of grounds, because we had those green electrical mowers that came in. They were very proud, and they said, we're the first people going green, and then we pointed out the electrical engineers have been green for years. So, but we really believe this is something that we're going to be able to achieve. For achievements this year, in goal 2, climate action plan has been outlined and been aligned with the city plan, all right? We identified some firms that would be fully development in concert with the city. We hope to be able to partner, so that way in the development of a plan, we're able to use a common firm. It would reduce costs. Student report and status and recommended items. We received a report from students that did a full summer internship and turned over their recommendations to CNS. Some of the things in the CNS presentation were from student recommendations on climate action, including what packaging they used and what's happening. So those were all major achievements from the Climate Action Committee. Here we have the recommended next steps. We really need to retain a common firm for the development of plans. By the way, developer fees would be another area you could look for that. You don't have to take it out of the general fund unrestricted. We need to refine our board policies. If we're passing those electrical resolutions, we have to come back to you that along with all of the appropriate administrative regulations. Remember, all the way up here, you have your resolutions. Now board policies come in, and then we refine the regulations after that, and then procedures on day-to-day actions that people take. So those would be the next steps. Goal 3, and we're coming to the end here, and we'll open up to questions. What were the achievements in student engagement and curriculum? Well, Dr. Shigelio, he had a beautiful STEM fest out at Vista. It was amazing. And all of that was part of that. STEM to career, big deal, huge deal. We were out there all day. We even got our risk manager to let us fly drones that were electric drones. It was a little hard, but she did it. And what else did we do? We completed that climate action pathway internship program, and we now have that embedded as something we just do now. We have that continued expansion of climate topics in our curriculum. Oftentimes, when we talk about a curricular topic, we want to talk about it separate. When you talk about things like climate, it's across the curriculum. It's a lot of different topics you want to hit on. So we continue to see that. For recommended next steps, continue building the climate action student at district events, build on that great success from last year, promote climate action success stories. We are among the most efficient school districts in Southern California at this juncture. And that is just not known. We're continuing to take steps. It's a wonderful thing. So we want to make sure we're promoting that and using the levers we have to get that message out. And then support all of those first steps regarding what's talked about in career technical education, which is, to be specific, that's always, it's at the middle school level as well. But then what does it look like at the elementary school level? How do we engage? So those are the recommended next steps. This is open, of course, for your discussion. My purpose this evening is just to report back to you. This is what the committee's talking about. If there are any potential budgeting things that would happen, almost all of those would be out of restricted funds and discussions that already happened. So I would bring those back to you at a different juncture, so that way you are aware of them. But that is all I have at this time. What I will typically do is any comments from the board I take back to the committee. So that way they're aware of it and let them know where we stand.
Thank you. Any questions or comments?
I do. I wanted to kind of go back to resolution 20-22, the call to climate action, and we've done a lot. What can we do to reduce single-use plastics and get the water refill stations at the schools that don't have them? And could we look at maybe finding some grant sources or maybe some funds that are like restricted but could be used for this, or I don't know if that's the right terminology, but could we look into getting water refill stations at the schools that don't have them? Or is just to kind of reduce the single-use plastics which are made from petroleum?
So I think the simplest answer to that is yes. The more complicated answer is what grants are available. I can't speak to that because most of the water grants that are there have to do with water quality, not necessarily that. But we could come back and talk about that. One of the directions the board could take is within the long-range facility master plan revision is set that as the district standard. And simply say with every upgrade we do, this is the standard that we seek. We want water filling stations, whether those be chilled or not chilled, we would make that determination and then you embed that. And it's currently not the district standard. We would make it in that process. And then every project ongoing that becomes embedded in that process.
Yeah, because, I mean, yeah, kids can use water fountains, but they're out there, you know, practicing during the hot summer, whether it be like football and we need to make sure that they have access to, you know, water so that they don't get heat stroke. And it's timely that that gentleman, the young man, came in to talk to us about that. And I know we got some during the pandemic. We had some refill stations, but some schools don't have them. So I'm just kind of like going back to that. That's, you know, we did huge things with our fleet and now I'm taking it back to like a micro level with single-use plastics for water. And also, well, maybe people don't have $1 to buy bottled water. I don't know. Do we sell water?
No, we don't sell water.
Good,
But we-
because my district sells it, my employer does, and I think that's ludicrous, like to sell water to kids.
Just for the board to know, while it's not the district standard yet, we do have examples of water filling stations on the new Measure L project at Vista High School, and of course, Bobier will have.
I thank you for bringing that up. That's a really good point. One thing I could think of in the short term is if, you know, sometimes some of the teams have those big Gatorade dispensers. If we could fill those up with ice water and set them up during like PE hours.
Sure.
That could be just short, it's not a permanent solution, it's not a great solution, but it's better than nothing. So that could be something that maybe we could look at, you know, or maybe I don't know if there's any funds that we could buy a few extras of those, you know, and just have them around school campuses for that. Yeah, so that's something. Any further questions, comments? Trustee Martin?
Yes. Is there, I would like to see the return of, the science class of ecology if possible, and I'm just putting it out there because we used to have it years ago. But then when science went STEM but there's more student interest in it now, and if it could incorporate also climate. I would like to see that brought back. There is considerable interest from kids, obviously.
Yeah.
We saw that tonight, and I think we could easily fill sections of that.
We'll look into that.
Okay.
That's great. One thought that I have, and I this maybe just kind of looking into it, but the windmill repair, people that do that, that's a really good CTE job. It's also very dangerous.
Very
It's very dangerous, but that's why they start earning $300,000 a year. But you know, that maybe if there was something that could sort of
Or just maybe an electric pathway that could lead to that.
something, yeah.
It's a bizarre thing you bring. I built the only CTE building in California with that exact thing on top, and the answer is we were not allowed to let kids work on it or touch it, but we did do just that. That it was embedded into electrical, and then we turned it over to IBEW and they would educate the kids on that. So I'm sure we can find a way forward.
Yeah, that's a really good career path, actually. Okay,
Yes, ma'am.
any further questions or comments?
One last on a CTE pathway on electricians. I'm a little cautious of doing that because it is such a dangerous profession. And I don't know if we could do that with high school kids.
So you typically do it, there's actually various curriculums available that can do it safely on various models. And we could actually take you out to see some of how it's done. Paxton Martin and different people make things to support that, and you usually do it in conjunction with a partnership, so it's appropriate to the grade level, not something that's dangerous. It's embedded with science curriculum where you study ohms and throughput and watts and everything. But it's never done at a level
We're
where
not touching
anybody,
any live-
without any live wires. And then that leads typically into a pre-apprenticeship program or another program where the students can either go to community college or a trade school or an apprentice school for that.
And it's a long,
It's a long process.
it's
Very long.
like a 4-year apprenticeship program because you gotta get squared away. And to be
It's a
top certified.
So IBEW's program is a college degree, just to be
Yeah,
clear.
yeah. It's the Harvard of
yeah.
trades.
Yeah,
yes.
But it is literally, you get a degree at the end. That's how much intensity there is to that program.
Serious.
Thank you. Any further questions or comments? Okay, then we will move on. Is it, so it's Mr. Post show. Steve Post.
We're calling in a relief pitcher, Steve.
I was thinking.
Sure.
We have a starter here going 7 strong in English.
That's right. That's our, the lead reliever. We're gonna send you the all-star.
Bring us on, bring us on.
Yes. Yeah, thank you. Dr. Loescher, well done. Thank you for giving me a chance to speak.
Well, Steve.
Thank you, thank you. But in all seriousness, he does a wonderful job and I'd like to do my best to follow up. Good evening, Board of Trustees, Dr. Doyle. I'm Steve Post, Director of Measurement and Monitoring, and I'm here to talk about our preliminary results from our 2025 CASP assessment this past spring. So at this time, we have our preliminary results available. The students took their assessments in the spring in math and English language arts and science. And we have nearly all the results in, and I've done some calculations to aggregate that data to show you what we have thus far. I do want to caution you that this is not every single result. These are not official yet, and the CDE will publish those official results in October. So at this time, we can use these for local planning purposes, and I will introduce you to what we have available. All right, so quick timeline. I'm going to give you a few pieces of information over time. Here we are in July. I'm going to give this first initial report to show you the overall trends. I'll be back in August at the next regular board meeting for additional information about individual schools, a little bit deeper into that. But then the official CASP report will not be available, as I said, until October. And so at the November board meeting, I will give that full analysis, which will give us a chance for comparison across the state and county and things like that. And then ultimately it leads to a more comprehensive broad view of achievement at the December board meeting, when we could look at the California School Dashboard, which has multiple measures of student success to look at our schools. Just a quick reminder that our achievement here is a part of School Board Goal 3 on rigorous learning opportunities. The state assessment results are one of the academic measures that we have here, 3.1, our success measure 3.1 on state assessments. And we will get all of these pieces to share with you over time. So that's how this fits into our board goals. And quick reminder just how our academics are one part of our overall MTSS framework for our students. Academics, behavior, and social emotional. And students need expertise and experience in all 3 areas and all 3 domains to be successful. All right, some quick context. I'll give you some context slides just to give us reminders about the assessments, and then I'll get into the actual data slides. So reminder that these students in grades 3 through 8 and 11 participate in our tests in English and in math. And also students in grades 5, 8, and once in high school are taking their science tests. Students with an IEP take an alternative summative assessment in those subjects. And students in our DLI program also take the California Spanish assessment. At this time, we don't have the alternative assessments. Those will be out later in approximately September. And the DLI results for Spanish will actually be in December. So we'll look forward to those. All right, a couple of important reminders about the purpose of our CASP assessments. This is language from the CDE to make sure that we are, couching this within the context of how these results are meant to be used. These are for measurements of students' performance on the state standards, specifically looking at individual growth. The goal is for students to, of course, grow and improve their performance over time, looking at that progress, and then using their achievement to inform our instruction to identify any gaps, supports, interventions.
And important reminder that the summative assessments are one of many academic measures, and they should be used in conjunction with other measures to make sure that we get a complete picture of student performance. In terms of how we should use the CASP assessments, this is important guidance again from the CDE, that we are here to look at this in the bigger picture in conjunction with other data. We want to get a full picture of how students are succeeding, looking at growth. The data is used in our California dashboard and in our LCAP plans. And throughout the year, our educators use multiple different assessments in a balanced assessment system with formative, interim, and summative assessments in order to adjust instruction over time to meet our student needs. So the results are presented in two ways. They're presented with a scale score on each test, and those are then fit into 4 different achievement levels. In English language arts and math, the score is within a range of 2100 to 2900. In science, within a range of 150 to 650. And of course, in the grades as you progress, you would expect higher scores as students get older into the upper grades. In addition to the, can we go back one real quick? In addition to the scale score, we have the levels, and those are both shown on the right side there. That's a snapshot of a student score report. That's what's actually going home to the families. And you can see that it shows the level. You're at level 3 with, in this case, a standard med. You have the scale score, and the student score reports actually show the progress over time up to 3 years in a row to show how the student has grown. Okay, so a quick update to share. I feel I have a duty to share this to you as to what's coming. The State Board of Education did actually approve some updated language about the achievement levels. On the left side are the current achievement levels that are used in the current score reports for this year. And on the right side are the achievement level descriptors that have been approved. They were approved in March of this year, and we anticipate they'll be implemented in 2026. So just to be aware of what is expected to come, the standards are there, the scale scores are going to be the same, but the descriptions of the achievement levels are intended to help understand student progress and where it fits into grade level performance. And in fact, levels 2, 3, and 4 are defined as grade level performance. And so you can see that in the newer descriptors, level 2 is basic, level 3 is proficient, and level 4 is as advanced. So that's a preview of what we will see in coming years. In addition to that, there are actual descriptors, written statements of what these achievement levels represent, and they were updated as well to help with communication with families and educators. So I'd like to point out level 2 specifically on the right side. Level 2 is basic, states, and this is for English language arts. The student demonstrates basic grade level knowledge and skills and shows a fundamental understanding and ability to apply the knowledge and skills in English language arts and literacy needed for success in future coursework. So it is an indication that the student can, of course, grow and do more, but they have that fundamental basic understanding of grade level knowledge. All right, so to the actual data. I've only got 9 actual data slides here, so we'll get into this right now. These are preliminary results. So again, just cautions about potential adjustments by the CDE as all the final details come in. But these are the percentages of students who scored in each of the 4 achievement levels. And you can see that they're for English, math, and science. Those are the 3 subject areas. And these are for 2025. These are the tests that students just took in this past spring in April and May. And so you can see the percentages in each category, and then the combination on the right side for standard met and standard exceeded, as that is what people typically look at, and that's what's presented on the CASP test results website as the primary way the percentages of students in each category. This visual, I think, tells a good story about progress. This is 3 years of our CASP scores in English, math, and science, and you can see that we have a nice trend of upward growth. Now it's slow and steady progress, and of course we would want more, but it is a good upward trend. And I would think of the analogy of, perhaps a marathon runner increasing stamina, distance, and ability over time, slowly sustainable growth. And we want to continue this pattern, and that's a positive indication. And we won't know the exact numbers yet, but this is what we will expect when we get the official results. This next slide would be the comparison of 23, 24, and 25 scores, so 3 years worth of scores, and the amount of growth we saw from 24 to 25. In each of these cases, it shows numerically that we've made some nice growth in each of the 3 subject areas. Again, these are district-wide preliminary results. This is for all students in Vista Unified. All right, next up, to look at these breakdowns, this is another way to cut the data and to combine levels 2, 3, and 4, which, as I indicated, will be the grade level performance in future score reports to be implemented by the CDE. So there's the combinations of students who scored in those upper 3 performance levels. And the next slide has a nice graph that shows the visual of that, same pattern, same trend, sustainable growth once again. And we are seeing that we're seeing some nice improvements in each category. And once again, a comparison over time, and the same pattern exists. In the past 3 years, we're seeing growth from year over year in each category overall. All right. Another way to represent the data, this preliminary data, is to look at the scale scores. So the scale scores are a little bit finer grain because they are a specific numerical value, and these are average scale scores for each grade level. So this we can break down a bit and look at a grade and say, how have overall the students in that grade, performed year over year? Now you can see that on the right side is growth, but this is just an overall trend. I want to point out that these are not the same students. This is not the same student year to year because, of course, they progress in their grades. So one way to think of this might be like the Olympic team, the USA Olympic team. From games to games, the events are the same, and we all want the golds and the silvers, of course. We're going to look at how we did overall as a team, but the athletes are different. And so you can get some overall trends and you can do some comparisons. But the best way to actually look at this is what I'll present in our next one, in our next meeting, which will be cohort growth, looking at cohorts and how they are progressing over time. And that will be really, truly how we should use these for the intended view for student progress through the years. The next one is math scale scores, and that again shows some growth patterns once again across the grades. By and large, we see that same pattern of growth, and we're happy to see that continue, and we'll dig into that further. And then science, overall, we see some growth, and of course, there's some ups and downs, and that happens year over year with different groups of students. But the goal here is proficiency, of course, by the end of high school. The Common Core State Standards and the CASP assessments are designed to measure ultimately proficiency by the end of high school with that cumulative learning, that cumulative progress. And so that's what we're hoping to see for all of our subject areas. All right, so as I shared those initial scores, just quick reminders, preliminary. We're unable to do any comparisons with other districts or other school districts or the state. And we anticipate that we'll get these official results in October, and we'll do much more detailed analysis once that is ready. And then as a district, with our leadership and with our educators, we have some next steps. So in addition to my next steps here with you in presentations, of course, with our next August board meeting and ultimately sharing more in the fall, our leadership team, we're digging into this to look into operationalizing our data to make sure that we're using this for continuous improvement. Our teachers and administrators are coming back and they're going to use this in their collaboration and their instructional planning. And then we will ultimately get to a more comprehensive and more insightful set of reports, which will lead to our board goals, which of course have a larger set of academic achievement measures that'll tell us more about our students in our school district. All right, so that is my preliminary presentation, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Great. Any questions?
In the past, we've seen data compared to other districts of this type, so do you have access to see that data right now, or is that going to be available later?
Available later. So at this time, we only have our local data. So as the LEA coordinator, local educational agency or coordinator for the CASP, I can only get Vista Unified data. And so that will be a state comparison, other district comparison in October.
Thank you. Any other questions? Okay, thank you.
All right.
Thank you, Steve.
Thank you, Steve.
Thank you for being patient.
Oh, of
Yes.
course.
Okay, and now, last but not least, our closer's coming in, who happens to be our starter.
This is fun. You're gonna like this.
Measure, I know, measure. So,
And who wins for the last presentation?
Yes.
Staying the longest.
Well, that is for certain. So
You want a lifesaver? You can budget.
Thank you. I got mints in my pocket. I'm good.
You made it.
If Steve was our Trevor Hoffman, this is my goose gossage.
closer, not a reliever.
We go, ready? I think
You're
we're.
the Trevor Hoffman.
All right. Well, we're just gonna take you a few updates in general. Again, this is sort of thing where we provide you an update, but since we published this on Friday, everything's different again. And I was just out there recently. But also, we're gonna have Chris walk you through specifically some things here at the end about some of the closing details about Beaubier's design, specifically where some of the looks and graphics will go. There's lots of room for student artwork and things at the school. It's fundamentally a very different design, beautiful thing. But we wanted to show you, this is all part of the previously approved design of the school, but wanted to give you some previews and takes in case you want to provide some feedback and input. As far as all of the financials, everything's on track. We will be coming back as we close out a few last projects with some updates. We do plan to do some checks on all of this and to go into depth in the upcoming quarter on some of these financials for you. But we are on track on all of these. And over the last 3-year cycle, you're even going to notice there is no project that was over budget. All those came in. So we've gotten really very good at this and we're appreciative of it. So looking here at Beaubier, big moment in when I remodeled my house is when I got bathroom tile. It's a huge moment. So we did a little dance when we got our bathroom tile over at Beaubier. So we just wanted to show you we got tile. There's wrapping going up. Chris and I were just there yesterday. I can't believe it was yesterday. Chris and I get on the phone usually about 6 a.m. end our days together back and forth. So we were there yesterday night. They're mudding inside. They're already starting that process. As you look through, you're seeing the exterior wall framings. That wall's done now. So if you go, that's all done. That's built on the right now, but it's a beautiful picture that's there.
The beam went right here.
Well, the next slide up, I think you got a little, one more will be there, but all of these are in progress. Please schedule a time with Chris Lapola to join Dr. Doyle, Chris and I and come out and just walk it with us.
Fast. It is like by the hour.
Yeah. It really is. And remember, we presented a long time ago that cycle. First, everybody's excited, the buildings come down, and then we go into the earth and everybody says, what is happening there? Why aren't they making any progress? And then this is the part where there's mass excitement. Everything goes up. And then all the workers are going to disappear because they go inside and everybody's going to go, why isn't the school open yet? So this is a great time to go visit where there's a lot of excitement. So those are the lower field buildings. These are, if you have access and you have inclination, there was, a beautiful media story about the beam signing. We want to thank Trustee Morocco, Trustee Vargas for joining us for that, for beautiful words that were expressed about the progress here. But we gave you a link to the media story. There's also a video that Dr. Doyle himself went out and took. That's the beam that was signed going into place over the CNS facility. So, you have that link available too. I'm going to turn it over to Chris to walk you through just, a quick overview of the look of Beaubier. That was all something that was done in depth. It's been presented before, but we want to give you an update. And I want to personally thank you, Chris, for everything that you did, putting all of these things together and for your day in, day out leadership on site. So please.
Good evening, everyone. So slides might be a little bit small, but what we did is we incorporated a map. As you get to learn the facility, and hopefully you'll get a chance to stop by, just walking through, you'll grasp it really quick. But one of the first slides that we see here is as soon as you come into admin and you enter the school, you're going to see a graphic on the back that welcomes everybody to the site. So again, just nice, easy coloring, just very welcoming to the site. There's another graphic. Let's see, I think it was back on, if you can go back one more, there's a second graphic that's kind of over, you can see the Broncos down at the bottom, over by our principal's office in one of our corridors.
So we have these vinyl graphics that will go on the walls. Again, they're not permanent, but they are welcoming and just give you a great feel about the school. Also some wayfinding abilities. So we have different types of graphics that will go. We got vinyl wall graphics, some fiber reinforced panels that can be hung. Those go in the serving area. We do have a hand painted mural that we can show you later on. All right, next slide. Again, in our corridors, this is going to be in building A, in the west section. We do have something, when we come in from our courtyard into one of our corridors, you do again see some welcoming colors and wayfinding areas to get you into the corridor. As you go out through a south into our play areas or into our courtyard, there's some other Broncos that you see there. Again, nice welcoming colors and wayfinding that just bring a lot of color and excitement. There are a lot of wall spaces left, so it might be deceiving. We're showing you a lot of graphics, but there's a lot of wall spaces for art, announcements, things like that that can go up and also help do some wayfinding and decorate the school. All right, the Bronco that you see on this next slide up there, that is on our NPR building, and that faces our parking lot towards Beaubier. So it's a large Bronco. That's an aluminum sign on some nice paneling in the back. So again, nice and modern, but yet welcoming you to Bronco Pride. So the next graphic that you see at the bottom is in our serving area for the kitchen. So again, there's a roll-up door and then doors into the kitchen. So the students will see that every day. The next slide is going to be our library and our STEAM classroom. Again, plenty of walls in those areas to do some further decorating, but those will be front and center. All right, and this is our painted mural. So this will go at building D at our lower field. That also faces the parking lot, the lower lot. And again, just welcoming Broncos.
Awesome, thank you. Is there, did you want to do a September update or anything like that?
That'll just be next steps. We look forward to our September update for you.
Yeah, we've moved to a time where we had so much on LL a while ago that we came every month. That's just indicating we don't come every month out now on LL. Our next appointment with you is on the September on the governance calendar. It's just a quick reminder.
Any comments, questions?
These graphics are beautiful. They really are.
The
Anyone else?
murals, the design, is that vinyl or is there?
I think we can entertain comment, of course. Yeah.
Yeah, and then the reason I asked, I met with one of our tribal leaders about 2 months ago. And she mentioned, it'd be great to, recognize, not sure if that's through like a mural or a plaque, but
Yeah.
keeping that in mind and if this is, right timing for that.
Well, I would suggest there are a couple of options. First, we've left a lot of space for this school to have murals and additional things that would go with it. So both student murals, but also professional art murals. We had at former Beaubier site murals that were done by muralists. There's going to be space to do that. And we can even do spaces dedicated.
Murals, by the
Yes.
who actually did that
Right.
mural.
We can dedicate and commission murals to go on the site in one of the many available spaces and plaques. For example, if it was the pleasure of the board, you could say, commission a muralist that would come to this space when you look at the school and walk through and do a mural that commemorates the indigenous people that occupy these lands. But there will be lots of space for that discussion that exists on the school site. So there's lots of space for student work available. There's lots of additional space. These are just, we call them, you get inside. Let's back up a moment. Almost all of our schools in Southern California are outdoor schools with trees and things for identification. We are moving towards indoor schools. Safety and security requirements have changed. We're not used in Southern California to having a discussion about some differentiation of the way things look so students can orientate themselves. These are our wayfinding sort of murals, just general things. These are not the only spaces available. There will be plenty of spaces available for exactly what you're talking about.
It'll be similar to what we did at Maryland Elementary School with the murals on the playground. That's where those murals will go, where all the students can see them.
Great.
Yeah, we can do.
Thank you. I love the idea of commemorating Native American life. It would be great to do a mural, Native American children, like learning.
I'm just gonna piggyback off what he said. when I was meeting with some of our leaders in, Luiseno tribe, local folks to try to, refine our land acknowledgement, they let me know that that's sacred land for the Pampcocham. And at that time, I had a meeting with like 3 folks from the tribe, and they expressed interest in being part of the process of rebuilding it. And I invited them to be part of the community schools council, because then you have like shared leadership and you have committee members. But I think I'll reach out to those folks again. I have their names on my email, invite them maybe to come to when Bovier resumes, to maybe come to one of the meetings with their community school council. And I like the idea of a mural of, folks, the past, present, and the future. And it's all of them. They're the present and the past, but to include, kind of a historical time frame of that land. I know Oceanside did that with Pablo Talk. And they got a lot of help from the Luiseno tribe. And so I think to honor that land, it would be good if we could have a conversation, right? Because I mean, it's not going to come from the top down, but if the folks, the stakeholders at Bovier and all them, feel that this would be a great idea, that maybe we could really look into that, because we have so much wall space. And yeah, give the land its honor that it deserves.
I love that, like that. Any other comments?
Could we possibly include our land acknowledgement in a bronze type plaque in that area also?
That's a great idea.
Absolutely. I know when we met with them the last time, this was many months ago, about Bovier, we met with some members from the tribal council. They actually wanted to be part of the ribbon cutting ceremony and do like a pre-ceremony, and we've seen them do that at the community colleges. So we'll make sure we include all that and update you on when that process will move out. Melanie Paglioli is the principal there, and I can tell you she will absolutely want to do this with her team.
Very good. I love it.
And if we, if we do a mural that it's done by, locals and not,
Yes.
outside of.
This might be a little off topic, so I'll just throw it out there. It might be a good idea when we're doing asset management advisory committees to try to include members of the Luiseno tribe
we'll reach out to them.
Yeah.
I did invite them though. I gave them all these choices to come in, and maybe it wasn't their top priority at the time, but I did invite them to many of our committees. But let's try
the asset management advisory committee, where we decide what's to be done with our land, is probably it would be really good to have that, at least that input. If they don't want to actually make the commitment to be on the committee, to have the input, to give us an opinion would be.
Absolutely. We have Mel Vernon and Carrie Lopez, a tribal administrator for the San Luis Rey Band of Indians, and then a former employee, I think, Leslie Esquivel.
Oh, yeah. That'd be great.
She's a former 5th grade teacher at Vista, so I actually taught with her.
Okay, all right, well, thank you, and we are moving on. Superintendent comments, it's that time.
I'm just happy that we're getting through these meetings so quickly, and you guys are getting a lot done.
Yeah, we still have to go to closed session, right? So we have to go back into closed session, so don't forget. Okay, and then we're moving on. Is there any requests for future board agenda items, Martha? I know you mentioned about you mentioned about having a special board meeting for updates. Would it be possible if those updates coincide and come kind of close to a meeting, if we could just make it an agenda item on a regular meeting, or?
Well, you know what, I don't mind, but sometimes I feel rushed where you're like, let's go, let's keep it going, and we don't have the time to expand discussion. And if we're talking about such an important topic as like holding back our federal funds and where we're gonna allocate the funds to meet the needs, I don't wanna be rushed in a 10-minute conversation. I think it deserves more time, because it's a very serious matter that we need to deal with.
So on agenda items, the thinking is that everything that we have in our meetings is stuff that we seen before. It has come in Friday letters. It has either been on the agenda. So it is our obligation as board members to have read the presentation materials. So that's why I rush it, is because we've already seen it. So the idea here is it's a business meeting conducted in public. We just need to get through the business. And I've never, but the discussion, I don't think I've ever shut down discussion.
No, you have, but I mean, I don't wanna go back and forth on that. So yes, it's our obligation to read it, but we can't talk to each other because of the Brown Act. And
Of
this
course.
is where we bounce ideas off one another. This is where we grow, maybe we change our perspective. And if they're cutting, $1.4 million, we need to figure out how we're gonna fill that void.
No, I
And
agree.
so I mean, that's, maybe we talk more about that in governance, but, in an effort to streamline it, I feel like conversation has been impeded. And so it's the will, like, when I was president, I'd say, if it's the will of the board, we're gonna expand, we're gonna continue with discussion for 10 more minutes, 15 more minutes, so that we can have that bounce back of those ideas and that perspective.
Okay. All right, is there any other requests for future board agenda items?
I made a request last.
Which was that again, just so I don't forget?
The GLAD presentation.
Yeah, we will be doing the GLAD presentation.
Okay.
We didn't plan on doing it this month.
No, I knew that.
We're gonna do it in August.
Yes.
Okay, any others? Okay, board member reports or comments? Who would like to go first? Or anybody? I've been going to the Measure LL planning meetings, which has been fun because I've been able to see these
Pretty cool.
these things, yeah, so, but anyone else? Oh, I do have one comment. I want to give my extreme gratitude and thanks and just all good things to staff. I have been getting such positive feedback about the summer program. I can't tell you, everyone I talk to is over the moon about how we're doing this, so good job, everyone. I just want to thank you for that. Okay, next.
I'll piggyback on that. The in-class at the high schools was, I got a lot of comments about that. That was really a good idea. Thank you for that.
Well, thank you to the teachers who gave up their summer to make it happen. I had the pleasure of talking to each of them individually. We truly appreciate it. Teachers like to have their time in the summer, but they're committed to kids.
And with the same echo, got to visit some summer classes and great to see the engagement. Our students are happy to be there. And with, specifically at the high school, this notion of trying to get our freshmen or incoming freshmen ready for
Bridge.
the academic year, I think that's what the universities are doing. And, I think we're taking good learning lessons from them and got to see Pedro. So shout out to
It was great.
young Pedro who's teaching, a class there. And, I got to hear his perspective on the infamous, what's the program called?
Ingenuity.
Ingenuity. So you have to bring that up, he appreciates it, and so because he works in special education, he has he gets to work in different content, and so for him, it worked for him, but we recognize that it doesn't work for everybody, but his feedback was actually very constructive, so I definitely recommend reaching out. What's his number, Martha?
867-5309. Got it. No, okay. So I did get to visit Vista High summer school classes, and I spoke to another VTA leader. She's on our equity council for VTA about ingenuity. And I spoke to some students who were like, I signed up for a regular class, but since I have to go play baseball in a tournament, I can only miss 1 or 2 days. So I had to move into this. Other words, I can't do my sports. And that was a perspective I had never thought about. But I also spoke to the teacher about how we can better support the kids who are taking a class for credit recovery, and that's not her specialty. Like, she doesn't have a degree in that, right? Say chemistry, I don't know, something, a science, and she's a humanities teacher. And so I got to speak to her, and I learned a lot from her and also the students. And then I was so lucky, because I called Dr. Doyle. I said, Dr. Doyle, I want to go visit the schools. I said, but either today or next week. And he said, well, let's go today. I'm available. So I changed my plans and I went. And because of that, I got to see that beam go up. But before the beam went up, I got to sign it because I wasn't there. So I took my the Sharpie that they gave me, and I got to see the beam going up and walk those buildings and those structures and just feel like, you know, we can see the light at the end of the tunnel, the work that's going on. There's so much synergy on that campus with all the crews. It's seamless, and so it felt really good, you know, because being able to see the fruits of our labor as trustees sometimes takes forever, right? And so seeing that was great. And then like the bonus was getting to sign the beam because I wasn't there for the meeting, but I mean, I was there, I was part of the board that decided like, we're not gonna piecemeal and put tape and duct tape on Bobier. It needs more. I mean, you know, because otherwise we're just wasting money and never really getting to the root of the problems for like water intrusion and all the other problems we had with such old campuses. So I was lucky, and thank you, Dr. Little, for making me go that day instead of the following week.
Any board member, call me and I'll adjust my calendar because I want you to see this amazing work.
All right, thank you. Anyone else? Okay, seeing none, there's any board members' reflections on board meeting? Seeing none, the next regular board meeting will be on Thursday, August 7th. I am now going to.
Don't end it yet, because Dr. Loescher, I believe the next board meeting is off-site. It's not on this location.
No, it is at this one.
It's at this location?
Yes, governance, well, the first governance meeting is at this location.
Oh, well, the governance, but the next regular board meeting on the
It's
7th.
not on this site, it's at Vista High School.
So let me make a statement. So the August 7th regularly scheduled board meeting is not here. It's actually at Vista High School because we're having the ribbon cutting ceremony just before the board meeting. So I just want to make sure that, for the record, it's not here. It's at Vista High.
Very, very cool.
It's on building T. Yeah, up in the press box that we call it, the large third story.
Awesome. Thank you for that clarification. And I will be adjourning open session. We will be going reconvening in closed session afterward, but I'm adjourning open session at 9:44